Chapter 5487. If what Ao Jun Kwang said before made people doubt whether this pill had other effects, then at this moment, Ao Jun Kwang was completely awake and said such words. Everything was obvious. Jun Lingxuan was even more furious. He couldn't hold back the anger in his heart. His figure flew out and kicked Ao Jun Kwang's body. Bang! This kick seemed to have used all of his strength and mercilessly crushed Ao Jun Kwang's chest. Pooh! Ao Jun Kwang spat out a mouthful of blood, dyeing the clothes on his chest red. However, Jun Lingxuan did not stop there. He had never been humiliated like this. But because of Ao Jun Kwang, this idiot, he had to bear all of this. At this moment, Ao Jun Kwang was like a breakthrough point. Only by killing him could he vent the anger in his heart. At this moment, Diyujua did not stop it, because everything had been revealed. The result of Ao Jun Kwang was inevitable. The people of the Ao family wanted to stop all of this. After all, Ao Jun Kwang was a member of the Ao family. They should be the ones to punish him. However, all of this happened too fast. They did not even have the chance to stop it. In just a few breaths, Ao Jun Kwang was no longer breathing. Before dying, Ao Jun Kwang still stared at Jun Lingxuan in disbelief. Obviously, he did not expect that the person who killed him in the end would be Jun Lingxuan. Ao Lingxiao looked at the corpse on the ground with a complicated expression. Ao Jun Kwang had taken the wrong path, so he ended up like this. Quietly, the people of the Ao family who were very close to the Jun family had unknowingly leaned towards the D family. Now that they knew everything, they naturally could not rely on the Jun family anymore. Such a hateful family made them feel extremely disgusted. Diyujua glanced indifferently, and his gaze fell on Jun Hongcheng again. Now that the matter of the Ao family has been settled, it's time to settle the grudge between us. Jun Hongcheng chuckled. The enmity between us has been going on for a long time. I wonder how you plan to settle it with me? Xiao Yanlong's expression changed a little. He originally thought that Diyujua had come today to protect the safety of Di Beichen and the others. But from his words, why did he feel that Diyujua wanted to take advantage of today to have a good fight with them? All these years, I've been looking for the culprit who attacked Beichen. Back then, you should have already heard me say that as long as I find the person who did this to Beichen, I will make him suffer a fate worse than death. Diyujua's eyes were sinister and vicious as he stared at Jun Hongcheng. An endless murderous aura spread out. Because of Beichen's disappearance, his family had been sad for so many years. Now that he had finally found the culprit, he must make Jun Hongcheng suffer a fate worse than death. So what? Jun Hongcheng asked. Could it be that you finally found the culprit? That's right. Diyujua nodded. This person is you. Diyujua's gaze was as sharp as a blade, and the cold light that flashed through his eyes caused one to shudder. His bloodthirsty killing intent spread out, and the surrounding temperature seemed to be affected by it, becoming icy cold. As soon as these words came out, everyone's shocked eyes fell on Jun Hongcheng again. They really did not expect that the Jun family not only attacked the Ao family, but also did something so excessive to the D family. Chapter 5488. After hearing this news, Xiao Yanlong also looked at Jun Hongcheng. He had suddenly received too much news today. Even he could not help but feel shocked. However, he wasn't too surprised by this. After such a thing happened in the D family, he and Diyujua had such a guess. Because of the D family's problems, the happiest people were the Jun family. Over the years, he also knew that Diyujua had been looking for evidence, but he did not find anything. He did not expect that Diyujua would have evidence now. It was probably solid evidence. Xiao Soa was also dumbfounded. She never thought that Di Beichen's disappearance was related to the Jun family. Jun Lingxuan had never mentioned this to her. If Di Beichen had not disappeared, then she would have been Di Beichen's fiancée now. Bailey Hongzhuang would not have come to the upper realm. Perhaps everything would have been better. For a moment, Xiao Soa's mood became very complicated. The things that the Jun family had done were indeed somewhat difficult to accept. Jun Hongcheng looked coldly at Diyujua. If you don't have evidence, don't talk nonsense. For a shameless person like you, if you don't have evidence, You will definitely not admit it. However, fortunately, I have evidence. Hearing this, Jun Hongchung was slightly stunned. He already had an ominous feeling in his mind. In fact, after seeing Du Jue and the others come here today, he felt that something was wrong. Logically speaking, in this kind of situation, Du Jue would definitely not come here personally. Now that he heard Du Jue's words, he was afraid that Dai Haoen's matter had been discovered. Bring Haoen here, Du Jue ordered. The Di family's cultivators quickly brought Dai Haoen's figure forward. At this moment, Dai Haoen was no longer in high spirits. After he said everything, it was as if he had lost his soul. He became numb and sluggish. This was because he knew very well that after today, he was afraid that there would be no way for him to survive. Everything that had happened before would turn into bubbles. He was no longer a member of the Di family, and he could not return to the Jun family. The Jun family would not accept a failure like him, and the Di family would not treat him as a family member. Even if he had been mentally prepared for all these years to be discovered, when all this really happened, he still collapsed and could not help but break down and lose himself. Jun Lingxuan's eyes widened when he saw Di Haoan. Then his face turned ugly. Father, it seems that they are going to beat us at our own game. Jun Lingxuan's face was filled with anxiety. The other party obviously knew about their plan, but they still dared to come here today. They were probably well prepared. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. No matter how bad the situation was before, at least he did not feel that his safety was threatened. However, at this moment, he suddenly felt that everything was not so simple. If the Di family came with the plan to catch them all in one fell swoop, then it would not be easy for them to escape. Jun Hongchung naturally thought of this and comforted him. Don't worry. No matter what, father will take you away. Jun Lingxuan nodded slightly. He believed in his father's strength. Chapter 5489. Before Di Baichen returned to the family, Dai Haoen was a very outstanding child, second only to Di Xiaofeng. When he went out to train, he often saw Dai Haoen. His performance was quite outstanding, and it was said that he was very likely to become the successor of the Di family. But at this moment, he actually appeared in front of them with such an appearance. What was going on? Yes, it's him. Xiao Sowen nodded slightly. He is the son of the second elder. Could it be that he colluded with the Jun family? Why? Even if she was now engaged to Jun Lingxuan and was close to the Jun family, she still couldn't help but have doubts in her heart. After all, she was very familiar with the Di family and knew the Di family's situation very well. As smart as Xiao Yanlong was, he had already guessed the whole story. However, even he didn't think that the Jun family would set up so many chess pieces in the Di family. He was inexplicably afraid. Was it really a good thing to be on good terms with such a Jun family? He didn't know if the Jun family had used the same method to deal with them when they weren't close to the Jun family. I already knew that you were despicable, but I really didn't think that you would be despicable to this extent. He is a member of your Jun family, but he was planted in our family from the moment he was born. This kind of method and courage is really surprising. Di Yijue shook his head and sighed. Even now, he still couldn't believe what Jun Hongchung had done. Even if the Jun family had been fighting with them for so many years, only Jun Hongchung was so despicable. In the past, there was no small friction between the two sides, but it was only on the surface. But now it was completely a conspiracy. Jun Hongchung looked at Dai Haoen indifferently, and Dai Haoen lowered his head. Although he had been working for the Jun family all these years, he had rarely seen Jun Hongchung. Now that the matter had been exposed, he no longer had the face to face Jun Hongchung. Looking at Dai Haoen's guilty look, Jun Hongchung understood that he had probably confessed everything. However, Dai Haoen was nothing more than a chess piece to him. There was no need to care about him at all. Di Yujue, I don't know what nonsense you're talking about. Jun Hongchung looked at his hands with a calm and indifferent expression. You casually pulled out a person from your family and said that he was someone I planted in your family. Isn't that too laughable? Ridiculous. Di Yujue sneered. It is indeed laughable. This child has provided you with so much information for so many years, And now you treat him like this. It is too disappointing. He's not even a member of our clan. Naturally, I don't need to care. That's right. This guy is obviously a member of your D family. Now in order to splash dirty water on us, you're even willing to do such a thing. You're the despicable ones. After Jun Lingxuan understood his father's thoughts, he was the first to speak up. Previously, the matter with the Ao family had already embarrassed them enough. If this matter was brought up now, they could forget about getting off the stage. In the blink of an eye, he noticed that Xiao Soa's gaze towards him had become somewhat complicated. Suddenly, his mood became even more depressed. Daiheoan obviously didn't expect the Jun family to have such an attitude. Suddenly, his entire heart turned cold. Chapter 5490. Hearing Di Yujua's words, Jun Hongqing's expression changed. Daiheoan had always been the best move he had made. He didn't expect that everything would be exposed before it was time to end the game. Speaking of which, if it wasn't for the heavens, your scheme might have really succeeded. Di Yujua's face was gloomy. Even he didn't expect this move. All these years, Daiheoan's performance had always been excellent. He had never found any clues. In addition, he knew too well that the second elder was wholeheartedly thinking for the family. It was impossible for him to betray the family. Therefore, he had never paid attention to this point. Even if he knew that there must be a spy in the family, he had always been investigating from other aspects. He had ignored these people who he thought were trustworthy. After hearing Di Yujua's words, Jun Hongqing thought for a moment. However, he was too lazy to hide it. Yes, he is indeed a chess piece that I placed in your family. So what? Jun Hongqing's expression was calm. He didn't feel ashamed at all. Could it be that you didn't place someone in our family? As opponents for many years, other than the situation of their own family, they also knew the situation of their opponents like the back of their hands. Seeing Jun Hongqing admit it so calmly, Di Yujua's expression became more and more gloomy. This guy was really incurable. No matter if it was the cultivators of the Xiao family or the Ao family, they were extremely shocked when they heard this news. Sending people to investigate the situation of the opponent was something that every family would do. However, they didn't expect that the Jun family would be able to hide this spy so deeply. Daiheoan was previously a figure second only to Daiheoan in the D family. Because they already knew that Daiheoan would be the young master of the Lin family, everyone paid close attention to Daiheoan. However, after Di Baichen appeared, Daiheoan's halo disappeared. It was fate. The heavens didn't intend to let the D family fall into a desperate situation. Therefore Di Baichen came back at such a crucial time. Otherwise, if he came back later, everything would be troublesome. All these years, the competition between our two families would always result in the fall of many outstanding disciples. In comparison, I only used one person to achieve this step. Why can't I? Jun Hongqing's chin was slightly raised. His serious face was now full of dignity. However, when he looked at Daiheoan, he revealed a trace of disdain. However, this guy was still useless. He didn't really complete the plan. Looking at Jun Hongqing's cold appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but frown. This guy is really cold-blooded and heartless. No matter what, Daiheoan had done so many things for the Jun family. If it was someone with a conscience, they definitely wouldn't use the word useless to describe him. Master, I think that this Jun Hongqing is even more despicable than Jun Lingxuan. He is the one who really treats human lives like grass. Xiao He couldn't hide the disgust on her face. This guy clearly did all kinds of bad things, but he still acted as if it was natural. He was simply shameless. I already knew this when I found out about Baichen. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were cold and gloomy. Jun Hongqing was a person who was as malicious as a poisonous snake. People couldn't help but be wary of him. Chapter 5491. By Li Yinche's voice was full of regret. Although one's birth was not a choice, why should he risk his life for such a family? Compared to Daiheoan, who had been suffering all these years, the Jun family did not care about his life at all. From the beginning to the end, He was just a pawn of the Jun family. If it worked, it would be good. If it didn't, they would just abandon him. If it were him, he would not care about such a family at all. Such a cold-blooded and heartless family. Even if he gave up his life, he would not get a word of regret. I also feel bad for him, Shang Guaning sighed. Shang Guanying sighed. However, he did this to let his mother live. Otherwise, I don't think Haoan would be so conflicted. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. From Dai Haoan's previous expression, it could be seen that if the Jun family did not threaten him, his heart would have been with the Di family long ago, and he would not risk his life for the Jun family. When Dai Haoan heard Jun Hongcheng say that about him, his face gradually turned red. His clenched fists revealed the anger in his heart. In fact, he had always understood that he was just a pawn with value. However, he still had a glimmer of hope, and thought that the family treated him well. Now it seemed that he had thought too well of everything. The truth was not so at all. He could not help but think of the warmth he felt in the Di family all these years. He also hated himself to the core. Don't make excuses for your despicable actions. Di Yujue didn't care about this at all. Our two sides have indeed clashed many times over the years, but only a despicable person like you would make use of a child in swaddling clothes. Yes, many cultivators in our family have died, but everyone did it voluntarily for the family. We have never been forced. The great elder also had a serious face. Voluntary and forced were two completely different situations. In the family, there would always be people who were willing to sacrifice themselves for the family. This was the cohesion and unity of the family. This was because only when the clan was strong could the clan's disciples live a better life. If everyone had been misled by Jun Hongcheng's words before, they now understood the essential difference between the two after hearing Di Yujue's words. At least, the Di family still had a choice. Xiao Sudong looked at Dai Haoan, whose face was filled with pain. His expression was also somewhat complicated. He didn't know why, but after hearing the conversation between the two patriarchs, he couldn't help but sympathize with this guy. Father, this Dai Haoan is rather pitiful. He was glad that he was the son of the patriarch, so he didn't have to bear all this. Xiao Yanlong's eyes were deep. He had always known that Jun Hongcheng was a person who would do anything to achieve his goals. Moreover, he had also treated Jun Hongcheng as an enemy back then. The reason why they had never cooperated with the Jun family was because their relationship with the Di family was very stable. On the other hand, they did not trust the Jun family's character. The Di family had always been magnanimous. As long as they became allies, they could completely trust them. However, when facing the Jun family, they did not know when they would be stabbed. Now that he had seen this scene, his feelings were even more obvious. Chapter 5492. Di Yujue, you've been acting like a gentleman all these years. Don't you feel tired at all? Jun Hongcheng did not care about Di Yujue's sanctimonious act at all. He did not think that there was anything wrong with his way of doing things. As long as he could maximize the family's benefits, it was worth it. He had only used Dai Haoan alone to solve so many problems for them. If it had not been for Di Baichen's sudden return, their entire plan would have been a success. That's just what you think. Di Yujue's expression suddenly turned serious. He stared at Jun Hongcheng with a gaze that brooked no refusal. Tell me, where is the real Dai Haoan? Heh. Jun Hongcheng chuckled. The corners of his lips curled into a roguish arc back then. It was a mistake for Di Baichen to have the opportunity to return. Do you think I'll keep making the same mistake? As soon as he said this, the hearts of the Di family sank. The anger in their eyes burned brighter. Even though they had already guessed that this would be the outcome, they could not help but feel sorry for the second elder when they found out about it. Back then, the second elder's wife had passed away in order to give birth to this child. Who would have thought that the child she had exchanged her life for would be taken by the Jun family? As soon as they thought of this, they could not help but feel sad. You're worse than a beast. The great elder could not hide his anger. His eyes were bloodshot. Jun Hongcheng was the main culprit in all of this. Do I need to be merciful to you? Jun Hongcheng snorted coldly. Great elder Di, you're being too serious. A cruel light flashed across his deep eyes. He could not wait to make the entire D family disappear from the upper realm. How could he possibly be merciful to them? Junhongcheng, you bastard! I'm going to kill you! When the second elder arrived at the Ao family, he happened to hear Junhongcheng's words. His blood immediately rushed to his head. His face turned red in an instant. His angry eyes were filled with endless killing intent. It was as if he wanted to kill Junhongcheng. He did not even see his son being replaced by the Jun family. Thinking of this, he felt so heartbroken that he could not breathe. Even if the family had asked him to stay in the family to rest, he would not have been satisfied if he did not come today. In the past, he only had one goal, and that was to take care of the family's affairs. That was enough. And now, he only had one goal, and that was to avenge his son. Only by killing this guy could he live. Everyone was shocked when they saw the second elder. However, they understood after thinking about it for a while. At this time, even if the family wanted to stop him, it was unlikely that they would be able to. You're overestimating yourself. Seeing that the second elder was rushing towards him, Junhongcheng snorted coldly. He casually attacked the second elder with a tyrannical force. However, before the attack could reach him, Diyujua blocked it with a wave of his hand. Second elder, don't be rash. Diyujua held the second elder back. Don't worry. Since we're here today, we'll definitely avenge Howen. The second elder's eyes were bloodshot. He looked like he had gone mad. Tears overflowed in an instant. Family head, for all that I've done for my family all these years, you must help me avenge my son. With his strength, it was impossible for him to deal with Junhongcheng. Chapter 5493. Second Elder, I will definitely do so. Diyujua nodded seriously. As the head of the family, he had the responsibility to protect his family. Junhongcheng had attacked his family again and again. He would definitely make the other party pay the price in blood. Facing the second elder like this, he could empathize with him. All these years, because of Beichen's disappearance, he had been immersed in pain, and had long since made this assertion. Once he found out who had attacked Beichen, no matter who it was, he would definitely take the other party's life. And now, everything was confirmed. After receiving Diyujua's affirmation, the second elder became even more excited and nodded repeatedly. Junhongcheng, we've been fighting for so many years. It's time to put an end to it. Diyujua's murderous intent suddenly exploded. His resolute voice was filled with determination. Even the people around could feel the layer of murderous intent. Between us, only blood can wash away everything. The grudges of many years had long been indistinguishable, and the only result was that they would fight to the death. Seeing that Diyujua was ready to fight to the death with him, Junhongcheng's eyes flashed. He subconsciously looked at Xiao Yanlong. It wasn't that he hadn't considered fighting the D family head-on. The reason why both sides had never faced each other head-on was because once they did, no matter who won or lost, it would be a huge loss. It would be the most troublesome if other forces were to reap the benefits. However, since Diyujua had taken the initiative to start a fight, he wasn't afraid. What he was most worried about now was that Lin Wenlan and the Lin family's cultivators were also here. If Xiao Yanlong didn't help him, then he would definitely lose today. Therefore, all of this depended on Xiao Yanlong's decision. When Xiao Yanlong saw the tense atmosphere between the two sides, he also hesitated. The situation before him was very clear. If he didn't do anything, the Jun family would definitely lose. Although it wasn't his intention to ally with the Jun family in the beginning, he had no other choice now that things had come to this. It was impossible for the D family to restore their previous relationship with them. Once something happened to the Jun family, their situation would become very unfavorable. Therefore, even if he felt that the Jun family was not that reliable, he had no other choice. Diyujua didn't give Junhongcheng any chance to escape. The moment he finished speaking, he moved and directly attacked Junhongcheng. Daring to make a move on his son, he wanted this guy to pay with his life. Seeing Diyujua make a move, Junhongcheng did not dare to underestimate him. He was well aware of how powerful Diyujua was. Even if it was him, He had to be careful when dealing with him. After seeing Du Jue make his move, Lin Wenlan immediately followed up with an attack. This damned bastard almost caused his grandson to never come back. He wanted this bastard to die. Brother Xiao, help me. Jun Hongqing saw Lin Wenlan also make a move and quickly called out. With his strength alone, it was already extremely difficult to deal with Du Jue. Once Lin Wenlan joined in, he would have no chance of winning. Hearing Jun Hongqing's call, Xiao Yanlong no longer hesitated. His figure flashed and also joined the battle. Du Jue only glanced at Xiao Yanlong indifferently. His voice was filled with ridicule. I didn't expect that there would be a day when we would fight to the death. Xiao Yanlong only remained silent. He also didn't expect this situation. Chapter 5494. The sigh only lasted for a moment. In the next second, both sides' gazes became fierce and merciless. Surging and turbulent origin energy surged out. Feeling the vast aura, the faces of the younger generation present were filled with horror. This was the battle strength of the patriarch. Just this aura alone was enough to make them unable to have any thoughts of resistance. They subconsciously wanted to retreat. After noticing this scene, the great elder of the Ao clan hurriedly said, "Everyone retreat." This kind of battle was not something that the disciples of the clan could get close to. Even if they were affected by the aftermath of this energy, they would still be seriously injured. However, looking at the situation of the clan, he could not help but sigh. After the battle between the four patriarchs, the destructive power was extremely terrifying. Perhaps after this battle, the Ao clan's mansion would be completely destroyed. Even so, he wasn't too sad because the young master had returned. This allowed them to finally know everything that had happened back then. They would no longer be kept in the dark like fools. The family mansion could be rebuilt, but all of this could not be changed. Du Jue's aura was like a rainbow. With a wave of his hand, a golden light appeared in his hand. With a domineering and sharp aura, it attacked Jun Hongqing. Seeing this, Jun Hongqing's gaze turned cold. His fire attribute power also met the attack. When the golden light and the fiery red light collided, everyone could only feel an extremely terrifying force colliding with a loud bang. The aura that rippled out caused the ground to crack inch by inch. However, the battle between the two did not stop at all because of this palm strike. The two figures were as fast as a whirlwind. Their movements were as fast as lightning. Everyone could only hear the explosion of the collision of forces, but they could not see the two's movements at all. However, from the terrifying situation of the battle, they could feel the hatred in their hearts towards each other. The determination to not stop until one of them died shocked everyone. Uncle's strength is so strong. Xiren's face was filled with emotion. This was definitely the strongest battle he had seen since coming to the upper realm. This terrifying and shocking aura made him understand the strength of a true powerhouse. Thinking back to the time when his father insisted that he must go to Penglai Island to have a look, it must be because he knew too well what a true expert looked like. In comparison, the strength of the lower realm was too weak. The difference between the two was like the difference between clouds and mud. When Xiren was not the only one who was shocked. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were equally shocked. This was a true powerhouse. Beichen, it's time for us to move. Di Xiaofeng's eyes were deep as he locked onto Jun Lingxuan. The battle between the seniors had already begun, so the juniors naturally couldn't be at a disadvantage. They weren't a match for Jun Hongqing, but they were confident that they could deal with Jun Lingxuan. Di Beichen listened to the strong and urgent words, and the corners of his lips curled into a cold and charming arc. That's right. Jun Lingxuan was originally paying attention to the battle between Jun Hongqing and Di Xiaofeng, but he suddenly felt two cold gazes. He turned his head and found Di Xiaofeng and Di Xiaofeng staring at him with burning battle intent in their eyes. Before he could react, the two of them had already rushed over. Attack! At Di Beichen's command, the Di family members all took out their weapons and rushed towards the Jun family cultivators. Chapter 5495. Di Xiaofeng also ordered the cultivators of the Lin family to move out. It would be best if they could take this opportunity to deal a heavy blow to the Jun family and the Xiao family, even if it was only a portion of the other side's cultivators. As long as they could annihilate these people, the Jun family and the Xiao family would definitely suffer heavy losses. Naturally, all the cultivators were aware of this as well. All of them clamored as they rushed over. Kill them. Kill, kill, kill. After seeing this scene, Ao Ling Xiao also turned his head to look at the Great Elder, his eyes flashing with hatred. Great Elder, the Jun family harmed my parents. We can't let them off. Second young master. You are the head of the Ao family. We will all listen to your orders. The Great Elder's expression was firm, and he was also full of resentment towards the Ao family. Attack. Kill them. Ao Ling Xiao gritted his teeth as he looked at the people of the Jun family, and his mind kept recalling everything that happened when his parents were still alive. It was all because of these hateful people that his family was destroyed, and he wanted them to pay with their blood. Hearing Ao Ling Xiao's command, the cultivators of the Ao family also rushed up crazily. Today's matter had given them too much shock. For so many years, they had been kept in the dark, and they were only chess pieces in the eyes of the Jun family. Even if they were just a small family, and their strength was insignificant compared to the Jun family, this didn't mean that they didn't have dignity. Even if they died, they had to die with dignity. In a moment, the cultivators of the 5 families all collided, and at a glance, there were battlefields everywhere. The sounds of battle rose and fell, and the entire sky was filled with the terrifying sounds of collision. Jun Lingxuan was dealt with by Di Beichen, and Bailey Hongzhuang faced Xiao Sou. Since she came to the upper realm, the game between the two sides had never stopped. Now that Xiao Sou had completely lost to her, it was time to end it today. After Xiao Sou saw Bailey Hongzhuang, she couldn't help but feel a trace of fear in her heart. She was very clear that Bailey Hongzhuang was stronger than her, and she couldn't win by herself. Seeing this, Xiao Sudong also came to Xiao Sou's side, and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, as if he was facing a great enemy. Sudong, quickly come and help me. Seeing this scene, Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. Xiao Sou, weren't you clamoring to kill me today? Why are you so scared now? After a moment of silence, Xiao Sudong and Xiao Sudong. Xiao Sudong, Sudong Sudong, Sudong Sudong bang. Sudong Sudong Sudong. Sudong Sudong Sudong's a Sudong. Sudong 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 Sudong. Sudong Sudong Sudong. Sudong Sudong. Sudong Sudong Sudong. Sudong Sudong. Sudong, let's go together. Xiao Sou had a serious expression on her face. Now that both sides were fighting, it seemed that they would not stop until one of them was dead. They did not have any helpers, but as long as they could take advantage of this opportunity to kill Bailey Hongzhuang, it was undoubtedly excellent. Okay. Xiao Sudong nodded solemnly and immediately attacked together with Xiao Sou. Facing Di Beichen and his brother, Jun Lingxuan also panicked. He didn't have the confidence to win against Di Beichen, let alone 2 people. Great Elder. Chapter 5496. It was precisely because of this that as soon as he saw Di Beichen appear, Jun Xian Xiao immediately appeared. His slightly turbid eyes were filled with murderous intent. He wanted to kill Di Yuju's 2 sons, and end the Di family's bloodline. It was a huge mistake to let Di Beichen live. However, as long as he killed Di Beichen now, he would make up for his mistake. Boy, this day next year will be the day you die. Jun Xuanxiao's aura burst out. His body was as fast as lightning. He wanted to take Di Beichen's life with one move. Old man, you're so shameless. Di Xiaofeng could not help but feel anxious. Jun Xuanxiao's strength was second only to Jun Hongcheng's. They had no power to resist him. In Jun Lingsun's eyes, there was a trace of a victorious smile. This Di Beichen should have died long ago. However, just as Jun Xuanxiao's attack was about to land on Di Beichen, a hand suddenly appeared out of thin air and blocked Jun Xuanxiao's attack. Jun Xianxiao, I haven't seen you in a while. You're still so shameless. The person who spoke was the great elder of the Di family, Di Chuyuan. Jun Xuanxiao's expression turned ugly when he saw that Di Chuyuan had blocked his sure-kill attack. If Di Chuyuan wasn't here right now, then his plan would have succeeded. I don't need to care about this when I'm dealing with you. I'll take your life. Di Chuyuan snorted coldly. He rushed out and attacked Jun Xianxiao. This hateful old man. They had been fighting for so many years. He wanted to end it all today. After Di Chuyuan blocked Jun Xianxiao, Di Beichen attacked Jun Lingshuan again. Let's see who can help you now. The dark power swept out, and the strange power lingered. Di Beichen had already fought with it for the first time. Bang! Jun Lingshuan was kicked away by Di Beichen. The dark power was like maggots that constantly rushed into Jun Lingshuan's body and eroded it. Feeling this, Jun Lingshuan's expression became extremely ugly. The dark power was undoubtedly the most difficult to deal with among the many elemental powers. The most difficult thing to deal with was its erosive effect. Only the light power could stop all this. He subconsciously looked at Xiao Sou. He found that even if Xiao Sou and Xiao Sudong joined forces, they were still suppressed by Bailey Hongzhuang. Their situation was not much better than the others. Jun Cheng and Di Beichen fought. Many years ago they had had a battle. But their strength was not much difference between them. And Di was with him. When they fought today, the situation did not change much. As the patriarchs, they had never slacked off in their cultivation. In addition, the two of them were once famous geniuses. Who would have thought that after so many years, their strength would still be evenly matched? Only Jun Hongqing knew that Di Yujua's talent was stronger than his. Over the years, Di Yujua had put a lot of energy into searching for Di Beichen. Jun Hongqing, on the other hand, had put all his energy into cultivation. Even so, his strength was still no different from Di Yujua's. If Di Beichen had not gone missing, Jun Hongqing would not be a match for Di Yujua now. Chapter 5497. Di Yujua, with your strength, it's not enough to kill me today. Jun Hongqing looked coldly at Di Yujua. The number of people on both sides was about the same. However, with the addition of the cultivators from the Ao family, he already felt that the situation was quite unfavorable for them. Even though they had a lot of people on this trip, it was still limited. On the contrary, this was the territory of the Ao family. The cultivators of the Ao family were almost all out. Even if their strength did not pose a threat to the powerhouses of the family, it would still have a big impact on the younger generation of cultivators. It was fine for a short period of time. However, once the time passed, their disadvantage would be revealed. He was not afraid of a real fight between the two sides. However, the place they were in now was really unfavorable for them. Even if I can't kill you in a short period of time, when all of your cultivators fall one by one, you will die by my hands. Di Yujua sneered. What makes you so sure that it will be the cultivators of our family that fall? Jun Hongqing's face was full of mockery. You are getting more and more arrogant nowadays. Open your dog eyes and see the situation clearly. Looking at the confidence on Di Yujua's face, Jun Hongqing also cursed in his heart. Could it be that there was something that he did not expect? He shifted his gaze slightly. He did not know when, but a group of cultivators had entered the Di family. This scene was completely out of his expectations. Looking at the situation of the cultivators of the Jun family, his heart could not help but turn cold. The Jun family was not in an advantageous position to begin with. Now that there were more opponents, they were in an absolute disadvantage. At this moment, the ground was full of corpses. There were people from all the big families. However, it was obvious that the cultivators of the Jun family and the Xiao family were the majority. Damn it! Jun Hongqing cursed in his heart. You actually brought so many people. Since I am going to settle the score with you today, of course I can't only bring so few people. Di Yujua's eyes were filled with mockery. The reason why he hadn't allowed all the cultivators to come in together was because he was worried that the Jun family would quickly escape if they knew that the situation was bad. Now that the Jun family had entered the battlefield, it would be impossible for them to escape unscathed. You're becoming more and more despicable. How could Jun Hongqing not know that all of this was Du Jue's scheme? This is all thanks to you, Du Jue mocked. Father, save me. Even if Jun Lingxuan gave it his all, he was still no match for Di Beichen. In just a short period of time, he was already covered in wounds. From the determination and murderous intent in Di Beichen's extremely black eyes, he knew that this guy really wanted to kill him today. Hearing Jun Lingxuan's cry for help, Jun Hongqing looked over and found that his son was already covered in wounds. He couldn't help but feel angry. Turning his gaze, he found that Jun Lingxuan was exhausted by Di Chuyuan. At this moment, they were locked in a fierce battle and couldn't spare any time to help Jun Lingxuan. Damn it! Jun Hongqing's eyes flashed with a bloodthirsty light. He didn't want to continue fighting with Du Jue. No matter what, he couldn't let anything happen to Jun Lingxuan. Du Jue naturally knew what Jun Hongqing was thinking. How could he let Jun Hongqing have the chance to rescue him? Want to run? No way. Brother Xiao, lend me a hand. Chapter 5498. Xiao Yanlong's figure flew forward and blocked Du Jue. At the same time, Lin Wenlan's attack had also arrived. Jun Hongqing took the opportunity to escape. Brother Xiao, you only need to help me block for a moment. Hearing this, Xiao Yanlong agreed in a deep voice. Facing Du Jue and Di Beichen's attacks at the same time was extremely difficult for him. However, in the current situation, no matter how difficult it was, he had to grit his teeth and persevere. Seeing that Jun Hongqing had taken the opportunity to deal with Di Beichen, Du Jue's attacks on Xiao Yanlong, who was entangling him, became even more vicious. He never showed any mercy to his enemies. Bang! A ferocious punch landed directly on Xiao Yanlong's chest. At the same time, a kick flew out. Following this, his figure shot out explosively and chased after Jun Hongqing. With Jun Hongqing's power, killing Di Beichen would only take an instant. Uft! Under Du Jue's tyrannical metal attribute power, Xiao Yanlong's figure flew back over 1,000 meters in the air. He felt a fishy sweetness in his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Lin Wenlan's attack did not stop because of this. A tyrannical palm struck out once again. From the day they had become enemies, there was no longer any friendship between them. Xiao Yanlong's heart panicked. He ignored his own injuries and immediately charged forward. At this time, if he were to completely endure another attack, it would be over for him. Jun Hongqing had immediately charged towards Jun Lingxuan's position after shaking off Du Jue. The pressure that erupted from his body fiercely pressed down on Di Beichen, making it extremely difficult for him to even move. Di Beichen was holding the severed passion sword in his hand. As long as he swung his sword, he would be able to take Jun Lingxuan's life. Just as the tip of the sword was a hair's breadth away from Jun Lingxuan, he felt a terrifying pressure enveloping him, causing him to be unable to move. He turned around and realized that it was actually Jun Hongqing. Di Beichen narrowed his eyes. If he missed this opportunity, it would be difficult to kill Jun Lingxuan again. Thinking of this, he used all his strength to move the tip of the sword. Boy, how dare you! Jun Hongqing roared loudly after seeing Di Beichen's actions. Let's see if I dare. Di Beichen's eyes flashed with madness and determination. Jun Hongqing had made a move on him back then, and now, he would make a move on Jun Lingxuan. Save me! Seeing the tip of the sword getting closer and closer to him, Jun Lingxuan was so scared that tears and snot flew out. He didn't want to die like this. Chi! With Di Beichen's full strength, the tip of the sword finally pierced into Jun Lingxuan's body. Ah! Jun Lingxuan howled like a pig being slaughtered. He felt an intense pain coming from his body, and his entire being was shrouded in despair. Jun Hongqing saw that Di Beichen actually dared to make a move on Jun Lingxuan in front of him. His eyes instantly turned red, and the veins on his temples bulged. Boy, you're courting death. With Jun Hongqing's strength, such a long distance was covered in the blink of an eye. A violent force quickly attacked Di Beichen, sending him flying. Di Beichen's body flew backward, and his face turned red. Jun Hongcheng immediately took out a pill and placed it in Jun Lingxuan's mouth. He asked anxiously, "Jun Lingxuan, how are you?" Jun Lingxuan spat out a mouthful of blood as the sword in his chest was pulled out. He was slightly dispirited. Chapter 5499. Damned kid, I'll take your life first. Jun Hongcheng put down Jun Lingxuan and waved his hand. A flaming palm appeared and headed straight for Di Beichen. Ever since the second elder found out that his son had died at the hands of the Jun family, he had viewed the Jun family as his mortal enemy. He knew that he was no match for Jun Hongcheng, so he did not act rashly. Instead, he quickly killed off the cultivators of the Jun family. These bastards, they all deserved to die. Out of all the elders, the second elder was the craziest. His eyes were bloodshot. The anger in his heart could only be quenched by blood. Seeing that Jun Hongcheng was about to attack his young master, the second elder immediately rushed forward. "Young master!" The second elder rushed towards Jun Hongcheng. He could not let anything happen to the young master. Seeing that the second elder had suddenly appeared to ruin his plan, Jun Hongcheng's eyes turned cold. He raised his hand and attacked the second elder. "You overestimate yourself." Jun Hongcheng used 100% of his strength in this attack. He was most annoyed by this guy's arrogant attitude of wanting to kill him. A piece of trash who had raised someone else's son for so many years should have died long ago. The second elder's abilities were the weakest among all the elders in the Di family. It was because of this that he had been in charge of managing the family's affairs all these years. Therefore, as Jun Hongcheng's attack landed, the second elder felt the shadow of death looming over him. This was the absolute difference in abilities. However, as long as he could buy some time for the young master, it was worth it. However, just as the second elder thought that he was about to lose his life, he realized that the pain he expected did not appear. He turned his head and realized that Dai Haoan was standing in front of him. "Haoan!" The second elder looked at the figure in front of him in shock. His eyes were filled with shock and nervousness. He never thought that Haoan would do this. "Uft!" Dai Haoan spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body quickly fell to the ground. "Damn it!" Seeing that Dai Haoan was risking his life to save the second elder, Jun Hongcheng's eyes turned even colder. Ever since Dai Haoan had tried all sorts of excuses, he knew that this guy would never achieve anything great. Now he was sacrificing his life to save his opponent. This was the height of stupidity. He deserved to die. Just as Jun Hongcheng was about to kill Di Beichen, Di Yujia had arrived and stopped everything. "Jun Hongcheng, you're asking for it." Di Yujia's face was filled with rage. Jun Hongcheng actually wanted to kill Beichen. Jun Hongcheng's eyes were filled with cruel killing intent. He only wanted to kill Di Beichen, but Di Yu did not give Jun Hongcheng the slightest chance. His figure flashed and pulled Di Beichen to the back, out of the range of Jun Hongcheng. "Go to hell!" Di Yujia threw a punch. The golden light shone brightly like the sun, attracting everyone's attention. The sharp gold power seemed to be able to penetrate everything. It was everywhere and made everyone's heart tremble. However, this attack was not aimed at Jun Hongcheng. Instead, it was aimed at Jun Lingxuan. Jun Lingxuan, who was already seriously injured, felt better after taking the pill. Suddenly, a terrifying force came crashing down on him. His face turned pale immediately. His internal organs seemed to have shifted under the pressure. Blood gushed out of his mouth again. "Lingxuan!" Chapter 5500. Jun Hongcheng took a quick glance at Jun Lingxuan's condition, and his heart skipped a beat. Oh no! The destructive power of the metal element was extremely shocking. Jun Lingxuan had been stabbed in the heart by Di Beichen earlier. Although it hadn't been pierced, it had still injured his foundation. Even if he had fed him a 9th-grade healing pill, he wouldn't be able to recover in such a short time. Now that he had been attacked like this, his situation could be said to be extremely bad. He glanced at the situation around him. At present, the Jun family was completely at a disadvantage. If this continued, sooner or later, all of them would be left here. And he couldn't let that happen. At the same time, Diyujua also fed Di Baichen a pill. How are you? Di Baichen shook his head. Father, I'm fine. Fortunately, the second elder had attracted Jun Hongcheng's attention. Otherwise, he would have died just now. When Jun Hongcheng dealt with him, he finally understood how big the gap between the two of them was. Although his injuries were not light, at least it wouldn't endanger his life. At this moment, Jun Hongcheng suddenly carried Jun Lingxuan and rushed outside without hesitation. Everyone retreat. The loud voice was filled with urgency and tension. Even though he knew that only a small number of cultivators would be able to leave at this moment, Jun Hongcheng didn't care. Because he knew that if they continued to stay, everyone would die here. None of the people who were fighting had thought that Jun Hongcheng would suddenly give such an order. The atmosphere froze for a moment, and it wasn't until everyone came to their senses that it returned to normal. Jun Xianxiao also understood why Jun Hongcheng did this. They had only been fighting for a short time, but the casualties of the Jun family's cultivators were already extremely terrifying. Although this decision was equivalent to giving up on many young disciples, it was already the best result for the current situation. After hearing Jun Hongcheng's decision, Xiao Yanlong's heart also turned cold. If he had known this would happen, he would have left with his family's disciples. Now that they had paid such a high price, and so many clan members had lost their lives, only then did they choose to escape. How many of them could actually escape? Apart from the various elders, it was impossible for ordinary disciples to leave alive. However, at this moment he had no other choice. Once the Jun family began to evacuate, only death would await him if he did not leave. After Diyujua knew that Jun Hongcheng was planning to escape, how could he let him leave so easily? In the next second, he quickly chased after him. No matter what, he had to do his best to keep Jun Hongcheng here today. Otherwise, with the extent of this fellow's scourge, he didn't want any danger to come to the clan's disciples. Feeling Diyujua chasing after him, Jun Hongcheng's heart tightened. He immediately handed Jun Lingxuan over to Jun Xianxiao before he turned around and fled in the other direction. Great Elder, take good care of Ling Sun. Don't let anything happen to him. Jun Hongcheng ordered. Master, I will definitely protect the young master with my life. After noticing that Di Baichen was injured, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately rushed in his direction. However, there were battles everywhere. Even though the distance didn't seem far, it was not easy to rush over. When she noticed that Jun Hongcheng had begun to escape, she subconsciously looked at Xiao Sou and Xiao Sudong. Chapter 5501. At this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang discovered that the two of them were desperately rushing towards Lin Wenlan's direction. Obviously, they also had the intention of retreating and wanted to quickly leave this place. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with a trace of unwillingness, but she still quickly rushed towards Di Baichen's direction. What kind of strength did Jun Hongcheng have? If he used all his strength, it was easy to guess how much damage he caused to Di Baichen. In fact, from the moment she saw that Di Baichen was injured, her heart was already in a panic. To her, nothing else was important. The most important thing was that the people she cared about were safe and sound. Soon, Bailey Hongzhuang arrived at Di Baichen's side. Looking at the pale and bloodless Di Baichen, her heart suddenly clenched and she quickly took his pulse. Di Baichen, how are you? Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's nervous expression, Di Baichen knew that his situation had probably frightened Bailey Hongzhuang and quickly comforted her. Don't worry, I'm fine. However, Bailey Hongzhuang did not feel relieved because of this comfort. After carefully taking his pulse, she discovered that Di Baichen's situation was extremely bad. Jun Hongcheng's strength was too strong. The tyrannical power of the fire attribute was constantly destroying Di Baichen's body. Even though he had already taken the pill, his condition did not improve much. This won't do. This power is already destroying your internal organs. If we don't stop it soon, your injuries will be very serious. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. Even if this power was not enough to endanger Di Baichen's life, But if this continued, it would definitely take a long time to completely recover. Therefore, stopping the destruction as soon as possible was the most important thing. Bachin also knew that he couldn't hide his situation from Bailey Hongzhuang, so he didn't say anything. The difference in strength between Junhongcheng and him was too great. Even if he used all his strength, he would not be able to resist. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't care less about the situation around her. She quickly began to treat Bachin. She couldn't let this injury affect his foundation. Everything happened in the span of a few breaths, leaving no time for anyone to react. At this moment, the second elder was supporting the fallen Daihaoan. His bloodshot eyes had also become moist. "Why are you doing this?" Second elder said bitterly. Cough cough. Daihaoan coughed up another mouthful of blood. His face was as pale as a sheet of white paper. There was no trace of blood in it, but the corners of his lips pulled up into a sincere and warm smile. He looked longingly at the second elder and said with difficulty, "Can I call you father again?" The second elder, who was already in extreme pain, felt his heart move after hearing this weak voice. His eyes were sour and tears almost fell. Ever since he found out that Daihaoan was not his child, but a spy for the Jun family, his feelings were very complicated. He didn't know how to face him. Even if in his own position, he should hate Daihaoan to the extreme. But looking at this familiar face, he found it hard to hate. Because all these years, he had always treated Daihaoan as his own son. Even if the identity was not, the feelings of these years could not be faked. Yes, yes, second elder nodded. Chapter 5502. I really didn't want to. Daihaoan's eyes were full of tears. I really didn't want to, but I had no choice. But you have to believe me. I really treat you as my father. Tears kept flowing, and Daihaoan's eyes fell on the face of the second elder. It was a face that he was very familiar with. It was such a man who raised him and took care of him wholeheartedly. From when he was a baby to when he grew up, he had always been immersed in family affection. Even if the second elder was not related to him by blood, he was still his father. The man in front of him was the family member that he cared about most in his life. The second elder clearly felt Daihaoan's sincerity. Haoan, I believe you. I have always believed in you. The second elder nodded repeatedly. Tears blurred his eyes. He wiped them away casually with his hand and kept looking at Daihaoan. It seemed that he was afraid that Daihaoan would disappear from his sight if he lost sight of him for a moment. Father, you must be well. Daihaoan looked at the second elder longingly. It seemed that he wanted to imprint the second elder's appearance in his heart forever. He was also worried that once he closed his eyes, he would never remember the man who was so kind to him. In the next life, I will still be your son. I will be your real son. The second elder held Daihaoan's hand tightly. Big drops of tears fell. You will be my real son in this life. My real son. Oh, I am really happy that you can forgive me. I have no regrets in dying. Don't talk nonsense. You will be fine. The second elder quickly said and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Young madam, I beg you. Please save Haoan. Hearing the second elder's words, Bailey Hongzhuang noticed that Daihaoan's situation was very bad. Hongzhuang, look. Haoan was seriously injured because he tried to save the second elder. Bachin looked anxious. Although Daihaoan was a spy, he didn't hate him. He just felt that he was a pitiful person. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded and quickly checked on Daihaoan's condition. Her heart sank when she saw his condition. Although Daihaoan's injuries didn't seem serious on the surface, his internal organs had already suffered a devastating blow. Even if she wanted to save him, it was already too late. Bachin had only received a casual blow from Junhongcheng, and it was already so serious. Not to mention that Daihaoan had blocked all of Junhongcheng's power. It was already not easy for him to persist and say a few words. Noticing the change in Bailey Hongzhuang's expression, the second elder couldn't help but kneel down. Young madam, I beg you. Please save him. I will be your slave in the future to repay you. The man with white hair on his temples completely revealed his weakness at this moment. It was as if Bailey Hongzhuang was his last life-saving straw. He held on tightly and didn't want to let go. Father, don't make things difficult for Hongzhuang. I know that my condition is hopeless. Daiheon spoke slowly. There was a hint of sadness in the smile on his lips. From the moment he blocked Jun Hongcheng's attack, he knew that he couldn't survive. Looking at Daiheon like this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were a little wet. It was such a spy, but she couldn't hate him. Chapter 5503. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang took out a pill and fed it to Daiheon. A bright light energy appeared between her hands. The extremely pure light energy made people unconsciously relax. The warm feeling reduced the pain on Daiheon's body. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed faintly. Second elder, forgive me for my limited abilities. I can only try my best to buy some time, so that Daiheon can talk to you more. This was the best she could do. Generally speaking, as long as the injuries were not too severe, she was confident that she could save him. However, Jun Hongcheng's strength was too strong. With her current strength, she could not do this. Even if she had obtained the Saint Crystal, she was still in the process of researching it. Apart from the previous saint, no one knew the correct way to use the Saint Crystal. The most frustrating thing was that the handwritten notes left behind by the Holy Maiden of the Light had disappeared at some point. So she had to figure everything out herself. If she had mastered the way to use the Saint Crystal, she might be able to save Daiheon. But now there was nothing she could do. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's sigh, the second elder burst into tears. He trembled as he held Daiheon's hands. The pain that penetrated deep into his soul made it difficult for him to even breathe. Hongzhuang, thank you. Dihao, and looked at the holy Bailey Hongzhuang in front of him, his eyes full of gratitude. He was just a traitor of the family. He had done such a heinous thing to Di Baichen. Logically speaking, Bailey Hongzhuang should hate him to the core. But now she was willing to help him. This was enough to prove her kindness and benevolence. And because of this, he was even more heartbroken and regretful. Everyone in the D family treated him so sincerely. If he was really a member of the D family, he would be so lucky. However, now that he thought about it, being used as a pawn by the Jun family might not have been a bad thing. If it weren't for that, he wouldn't have been able to experience the warmth of the D family. With the indifference of the Jun family, it would have been even more painful for him to live there. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Daiheon, whose face was as pale as paper, and shook her head. Haoan, you don't have to feel guilty. We all know that this was not your intention. The crisp voice fell into Daiheon's ears like the sound of nature, but it made him burst into tears. Forgiveness. He never thought that anyone would forgive him for what he had done. Di Baichen walked to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. Although he had yet to recover from his injuries, his complexion was a little redder than before. Looking at the extremely weak Daiheon in front of him, he felt somewhat emotional. We all understand that you had no choice. From the moment Daiheon's identity was discovered, he saw the bone-deep pain on Daiheon's face. He didn't need to look carefully to know how much Daiheon had struggled over the years. Speaking of which, Daiheon wasn't wrong. His mistake was that he was born into the wrong family. Jun Hongcheng was fine, but his father never treated him seriously. In comparison, he felt that Daiheon's biological father was even more hateful. Even if he was a spy, at least he could have made him more willing. But he used his mother to threaten him. This method was simply shameful. Chapter 5504. To be able to obtain your forgiveness before I die, I truly have no regrets. If there is an afterlife, I will definitely treat you sincerely. I will not hesitate to go through fire and water for you. Di Baichen smiled faintly. We will be good brothers in our next lives. Definitely. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen did not continue to speak. There was only a short period of time left, so it was better to leave it to Daiheoan and the second elder. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze turned towards Xiao Sou. Only then did she realize that Xiao Yanlong and the other elders of the Xiao family were desperately protecting Xiao Sou and Xiao Yanlong as they escaped. At this moment, they could not help but feel depressed. If they had known that this would happen, they would not have allowed Xiao Sou and Xiao Yanlong to come. At this time, it was already very difficult to escape from the opponent's control. It would be even more difficult to protect the two of them. Moreover, the cultivators of the Jun family had escaped first. By the time they reacted, they were already slower by a beat. In addition, the cultivators of the Lin family and the Di family had already known of their plans. It was even more difficult to escape. Lin Wenlan naturally would not let Xiao Yanlong leave so easily. Every move was ruthless and merciless, not giving him any chance to escape. Xiao Yanlong also understood that if he did not leave now, he would not have the chance to leave later. Suddenly, he clenched his teeth and made a ruthless decision. Bang! Lin Wenlan directly attacked Xiao Yanlong with a kick. Even he did not expect that Xiao Yanlong would not dodge. This kick solidly landed on the opponent's chest. The fierce and powerful force caused Xiao Yanlong's face to flush red. However, he forcefully suppressed his injuries and borrowed this force to leave. Only then did Lin Wenlan realize that Xiao Yanlong had actually taken a hit in order to escape. However, by the time he caught up, the gap between the two parties had widened. It was abnormally difficult to catch up again. When the cultivators of the Xiao family and the Di family saw that their masters and elders had begun to escape, they quickly gave up on the idea of fighting and took the opportunity to escape. However, the cultivators from the Di family, Lin family, and Ao family did not intend to let them go. The other side had already been utterly defeated, and the cultivators of the Di family and the other two families were in high spirits. As a result, the number of cultivators from the Jun family and the Lin family was astonishing. Looking at the many corpses in front of them, Xiren and the others smiled with relief. This time, the Jun family and the Xiao family have suffered a lot. They came here with the intention of keeping all of us here, so they sent quite a number of cultivators. Now, other than the patriarch and the elders, not many of the other cultivators can escape. Di Xiaofeng's eyes flashed with a trace of a sneer. He had tried to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. This time, he was afraid that the Jun family and Xiao family would suffer for a while. It's a pity that Xiao Sou and Jun Lingxuan are still alive. If these two guys disappeared, I would feel much happier. Shang Guaniying sighed. It was true that scourges lived for 1,000 years. She thought that she could keep these two guys here today. The two patriarchs will definitely do their best to protect them. This kind of situation is also expected, Mo Yunjue slowly said, his eyes penetrating and sharp. At their level of strength, it will not be easy to keep them here. Chapter 5505. The difference in strength between Di Yujue and Jun Hongcheng wasn't that great. As long as Jun Hongcheng wanted to leave, there was no way to stop him. After sensing his strength, Mo Yunjue had already guessed this result. Thinking about it, this was the real reason why the Di family and the Jun family had been fighting for so many years without any results. In other words, this was the foundation of the aristocratic families. Why were the aristocratic families always so stable? Because there were many strong people in the family. Even if they couldn't win, leaving was no problem. As long as the bloodline of the family remained, there was a possibility for it to become strong again. This was why the inheritance of the aristocratic families was continuous and unbroken. Hearing Mo Yunjue's words, Xiren and the others nodded slightly. The stronger the aristocratic families were, the harder it was to destroy them. Unless there was a huge difference in strength between the two sides, it was impossible to do so. Not long after, Di Yujue and the elders of the Di family returned. Father, how was it? Di Beichen asked. 2 elders were left behind. Jun Hongcheng was also seriously injured. Although they weren't left behind, it's still not bad. Di Yujua's face rippled with a faint smile. Although he came with the intention of killing Jun Hongcheng, he also knew that it wouldn't be easy to completely kill him. However, today's result was already a big blow to the Jun family. Jun Hongcheng was seriously injured and would need to recuperate in a short period of time. The two elders who died were also of high status in the Jun family. Moreover, a large number of outstanding cultivators had died. Even for the Jun family, this was a serious blow. The Xiao family's situation is even worse than the Jun family's. Lin Wenlan laughed. For a moment, everyone was relieved. Although many cultivators were injured, their hearts were still filled with joy and satisfaction. Haha. The Jun family must have never thought that today's result would be like this. Just thinking about it makes me happy. They actually thought that they could kill our young master. What a fool's dream. The Jun family and the Xiao family will die in our hands sooner or later. The cultivators cheered. Thinking back to how the Jun family had planted spies in the family, they finally let out a sigh of relief. Di Yujua's figure flashed to Di Beichen's side. After noticing that the latter's complexion had recovered, he immediately smiled and said, "It seems that Hong Zhuang has helped you heal your injuries. His injuries are very serious. He still needs to recuperate." Bailey Hongzhuang replied, "Don't worry, it's nothing." Di Beichen smiled at Bailey Hongzhuang. "I'll listen to your orders." TSK. The characteristics of a henpecked husband are exposed. Di Xiaofeng shook his head and sighed. Di Beichen glanced at Di Xiaofeng. "It seems that I have to call Yun Yan over." Di Xiaofeng smiled brightly. "That won't be necessary. If Yun Yan wasn't in seclusion this time, let's see if you would still say such words." Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up as she looked at Di Xiaofeng teasingly. Although Di Xiaofeng was usually majestic, in front of Bailey Yun Yan, he was not an ordinary kind of gentle. Di Xiaofeng was the one who was henpecked. Forget it. I can't win against you, husband and wife." Then, everyone began to clean up the battlefield. The injured cultivators also quickly began to heal. Today's battle was not a small harvest. Chapter 5506. The thick smell of blood lingered in the air, but the corpses on the ground were cleaned up in a short period of time. The Jun family's residence had clearly suffered quite a bit of damage. Many of the buildings had already been reduced to rubble. However, Di Yujua had intentionally avoided the Jun family's residence when he was fighting. That was why it hadn't been completely destroyed. This time, they used this opportunity to deal with the Jun family and the Xiao family, not to destroy the Ao family's residence. Even though the residence was destroyed, the elders of the Ao family were in a good mood. It was just a house, and they could just rebuild it. It would not take much time. However, they finally found the real head of the family and escaped the control of the Jun family. This was the most joyous thing. As the battlefield was cleaned up, the sky that was originally covered by dark clouds became bright. The dark clouds quietly dispersed, revealing the blue sky. The sky was clear, and the sky was clear after the rain. Looking at the bright blue sky, everyone's faces could not help but reveal a sincere smile. Bailey Hongzhuang and the doctors of the Ao family were busy treating the injuries of the injured cultivators. Ordinary injuries could be healed with healing medicine, but all the more serious injuries needed to be treated by the doctors. In the meeting hall, the elders of the Di family and the Lin family were gathered together. Today, Jun Hongcheng risked his life to protect Jun Lingxuan, and I injured him quite badly. I'm afraid he won't show his face for a short period of time. Di Yujua's eyes rippled with a trace of coldness. This time it was only the interest. What he wanted was Jun Hongcheng's life. Xiao Yanlong is also seriously injured, so we don't need to worry about them for a while. Lin Wenlan's voice was slightly light. During this period of time, the Jun family and the Xiao family could be said to have caused a lot of trouble. Now that they could stop for a while, it was also very good for them. Di Yujua nodded slightly, and his gaze fell on the second elder, who seemed to have lost his soul. He knew that Dai Heoan had fallen, and he could not do anything about it. Perhaps this was already a pretty good ending. Second elder, I know that this matter has greatly affected you, but you must persevere. Don't be too sad over this. Thank you for your concern, patriarch. I understand, the second elder replied. But he still looked as if he had lost his soul. Seeing this, Dyuju sighed. Speaking of which, the second elder's son had sacrificed himself for the clan. If it wasn't for Junhongqing dealing with them, the second elder's son would still be alive and well. Second elder, don't take it too hard. If you do, you'll be letting Howen down. Di Chuyuan also comforted him. He had always been very close to the second elder. Seeing the second elder like this, he also felt very pained. Hearing this, the second elder's expression changed a little, but the pain became even more obvious. I'm already so old. Why should I need him to sacrifice his life for me? Second elder, this is how Howen feels about you, even though how Anne's identity is. But he truly sees you as his father. If before, everyone still had some hatred towards Daehaeon, but now after knowing the result, all they felt was pity. Chapter 5507. In just one day, he had suffered too many blows. The son he had always doted on had suddenly become someone else's son, and then died trying to save him. All of this made him feel like he was in a dream. It was too unreal. Second elder, my condolences. Lin Wenlan said slowly. Daehaeon was no longer around. She didn't want the second elder to be dispirited because of this. After a long while, the second elder looked at Dyujue and said, Master, don't worry. I won't despair like this. The Jun family did such a thing to Howen and my son. I will make them pay with their blood. His blood-red eyes were filled with hatred. Both of his sons had died at the hands of the D family. If he didn't take revenge, how could he face his two sons? Even if he couldn't kill Junhongqing, he would do everything he could to deal with the Jun family. Seeing the light in the second elder's eyes again, even if it was the light of hatred, Dyujue quietly sighed in relief. Hatred was also a kind of belief. As long as the second elder had his own obsession, he could still live. Second elder, what are your plans now? The second elder thought for a moment and said, I plan to find Howen's mother first. If I can save her, Howen will feel more comforted in the underworld. This was also Daehaeon's wish before he died. As a father, he would do his best to help his son achieve what he wanted to do. Dyujue nodded slightly. Since you've made up your mind, then do it. Thank you, master. At the same time, Ao Ling Xiao had also gathered with the elders of the Ao family. The elders led by the great elder had already addressed Ao Ling Xiao as the patriarch. Even though they had already recovered from the shock, they still couldn't help but feel a little guilty in their hearts. After all, their attitude towards Ao Ling Xiao a few years ago was really too much. Fortunately, Ao Ling Xiao didn't take it to heart, which made them feel a little relieved. Family head, we were tricked by the Jun family before. Over the years, the Jun family has been trying to seize resources from us. In fact, there are many people in our family who are dissatisfied with this. Now that things have come to this, I wonder if we can still keep in touch with the D family like before? The great elder looked at Ao Ling Xiao tentatively. If they couldn't get the D family's protection, they would be finished once the Jun family came looking for trouble. Even if the Jun family had suffered a big blow, it would still be easy for them to deal with a small family like theirs. The other elders also looked at Ao Ling Xiao nervously. This was the problem they were all worried about. Seeing how worried everyone was, Ao Ling Xiao grinned. Don't worry. Leave this to me. Although he hadn't discussed this matter with Di Beichen yet, he believed that Di Beichen wouldn't refuse. From the moment Di Beichen chose to help him, he had already decided to work for Di Beichen in the future. He didn't lose his life this time, so he would definitely go through water and tread on fire for him in the future. Chapter 5508. Seeing Ao Lingxiao's confidence, the elders of the Ao family were relieved. That's great. The great elder breathed a sigh of relief. Thinking back to the time when they were in contact with the D family, it was much better than when they were attached to the Jun family. Most importantly, after this incident, they understood more about the D family's magnanimity. Fortunately, the D family helped us this time. Otherwise, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to come back. Ao Lingxiao's gaze was distant. In the future, I hope that everyone can sincerely work for the D family. Don't worry, family head. We will. Everyone nodded. With the D family's magnanimity, if they worked hard for them, the D family wouldn't treat them badly. Most importantly, the D family had helped them too much this time. Everything they did was what they should do. Bailey Hongzhuang and the doctors of the Ao family were helping the cultivators treat their injuries. Looking at the heavily injured cultivators in front of her, her eyes flashed slightly. This time, they had indeed won a great victory, but many cultivators had sacrificed their lives for it. Even if she was used to seeing life and death, she couldn't help but feel emotional when she saw this scene. Wife, what's wrong? Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's inexplicable worry, Di Beichen's eyes also showed a trace of concern. It's nothing. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head. Maybe it's because of what happened to Howen. Looking at this scene now, I feel a little emotional. Di Beichen also understood Bailey Hongzhuang's thoughts. His black eyes gradually deepened. Every family's prosperity is bought with the blood of their clansmen. Although some people have died, it's for the sake of the family. Compared to those powerless families, this is already the best result. The weak are prey to the strong. This was the law of the world. At least, they still had the strength to fight. As for those small families or ordinary families, once they encountered danger, they didn't even have the strength to fight. This was even more tragic. Yes, Bailey Hongzhuang sighed. I hope Howen will be born in a good family who loves him. Definitely. The next day, the teams from the D family and the Lin family left. Apart from a few cultivators who were severely injured, the rest of the cultivators returned to their families. Di Beichen wasn't in a hurry to leave. Bailey Hongzhuang still had to treat the injured cultivators. In addition, Ao Lingxiao had just returned to the Ao clan. They also had to confirm the situation. Lingxiao, your family's situation should be fine, right? Di Beichen looked at Ao Lingxiao, whose complexion was extremely good, and asked in a relaxed tone. Ao Lingxiao nodded. Ever since everyone knew the truth, I didn't encounter any resistance when I assumed the position of patriarch. I had planned to fight Jun Lingxuan after I came back. I wanted to avenge my parents. I didn't expect that Jun Lingxuan would be so ruthless. Speaking of which, I really have to thank Hongzhuang. Ao Lingxiao turned his gaze and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. If it wasn't for this truth pill, I'm afraid that no matter what I said, no one would believe me. I just happened to have the pill formula for the truth pill. You're just lucky. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. She recalled the frustrated Ao Lingxiao in the lower realm. He was clearly different from the high-spirited Ao Lingxiao now. Chapter 5509. If it weren't for your help, I wouldn't have been able to return to the upper bound. I will always remember this kindness. If you need me to do anything in the future, just tell me. I will do it even if it costs me my life. His firm and steady voice was very sincere. Ao Lingxiao's young face was also filled with his own determination. Since everyone doubted him, and Di Beichen and Bailey Ruoxin had always believed in him, he had made up his mind that his life would be theirs in the future. Lingxiao, you also helped us before. You don't have to be so serious. We are good brothers. Di Beichen smiled. They helped Ao Lingxiao not because they wanted anything in return. You are a good brother who deserves everything I have. Ao Lingxiao replied. Seeing this, Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. In their hearts, Ao Lingxiao was also a friend whom they could trust with their backs. By the way, Beichen, there is something I want to ask you for help with. Just say it. You know the current situation of the Ao family. Previously, Ao Junquang was bought over by the Jun family. That's why he broke off contact with your family and worked for the Jun family all these years. After this incident, everyone understood what was going on. In the future, this kind of problem won't happen again. So, I hope your family can still accept us. I can guarantee that this kind of thing will never happen again. Ao Lingxiao's brows were furrowed with worry, and one could vaguely see a trace of awkwardness on his face. Previously, the family had mysteriously cut off contact with the D family, and then contacted the Jun family. If he didn't know Beichen's character, he would be too embarrassed to say this. I thought it was something big. D. Beichen looked relaxed. He held Ao Lingxiao with one hand. Didn't you just say that we are brothers who went through life and death together? What's there to worry about? Hearing the former's carefree voice, the worry between Ao Lingxiao's brows disappeared. A familiar smile appeared on his face again. Haha. I also feel that what happened back then was inappropriate. Don't think too much about it. None of this is a problem. If there's anything between us in the future, just say it. There's no need to worry about anything else. All right. While the three of them were talking, a sudden rush of footsteps approached them. As soon as the door was opened, Lin Yi's figure had already appeared in their sight. Second cousin, why didn't you tell me that such a big thing happened? Lin Yi frowned slightly and pursed her lips. Her pretty face was full of dissatisfaction and depression. She stomped her feet and showed her girlish demeanor everywhere. She was very cute. Don't you already know? D. Beichen raised his eyebrows slightly and asked. It's already over. How am I supposed to know? Lin Yi raised her head and refuted. You should tell me this kind of thing earlier. I can also contribute. And you? Lin Yi's gaze fell on Ao Lingxiao. You didn't even tell me. Ao Lingxiao's expression froze. He didn't know how to explain himself to this lively and cute young girl. It's not Ling Zhao's fault. Who doesn't know your character? Chapter 55:10. Lin Taxing's figure appeared behind Lin Yi. His jade-like face was showing a smile at the moment. His gaze fell on the girl in front of him, but there was a trace of affection. Lin Yi turned around and looked at Lin Taxing, who seemed to have seen through everything. The dissatisfaction on her face became stronger. Big brother, how can you look down on me like this? I'm not looking down on you. It's just that you are not scheming. Howen may be a spy of the family. No one knows if our Lin family has a spy, so it's better to be careful. You don't want this news to be known by the Jun family in advance, so that they can make a more comprehensive plan to deal with us, right? That's true, but, Lin Yi muttered. The more she spoke, the lower her voice became. In the end, there was no sound at all. Looking at her weak appearance, the smile in Bailey Hongzhuang's clear phoenix eyes became more and more intense. This girl is really everyone's joy. Aya, I can't win against you. Anyway, it's not right for you to not tell me. Lin Yi's face was flushed. She was so depressed that she simply talked nonsense. With her hands on her hips, she said, If you don't let me vent my anger today, I won't be appeased. Well, how about letting Lingxiao take you around here later? Di Beichen gave Ao Lingxiao a look. Ao Lingxiao immediately understood and quickly said, You haven't been to our Ao family, right? There are many beautiful places nearby. Why don't I take you around? Lin Yi glanced at Ao Lingxiao, then looked at the smiling Bailey Hongzhuang and others. She muttered, Then I will reluctantly go around, but if I'm not satisfied, I still can't do it. You can rest assured that you will be satisfied. Ao Lingxiao smiled for a while. His eyes were full of joy. Humph. Lin Yi snorted coldly. Fortunately, everyone is fine this time. Otherwise, I won't let it go. But next time, you can't do this again. I promise I will definitely keep my mouth shut in the future. Lin Yi snorted coldly. Don't worry, it won't happen again. It was not until Ao Lingxiao left with Lin Yi that everyone in the room breathed a sigh of relief. They were very clear about this eldest young Mrs. Pestering. Once they were entangled, it would be troublesome. This girl's temper has always been like this. Speaking of which, it's because we've spoiled her. Please forgive her. Lin Taxing shook his head helplessly. His sister had always been so lively. As her elder brother, he felt both angry and amused to see her being difficult. Star Stomper. Is actually very cute like this. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. I think she's fine the way she is. She's carefree and happy. That's what the patriarch thinks too. That's why he's been doting on her all these years, not letting her take charge of things on her own. Lin Taxing nodded, a complicated light flashing in the depths of his eyes. It would be great if it could stay like this, but the world is still a little cruel after all. The slightly deep voice revealed the worry in Lin Taxing's heart. In this world where the strong preyed on the weak, it was not easy to be carefree. Unless her family could build a strong and sturdy barrier for her, only then would she be able to live a happy life. Don't worry, our family will only get stronger and stronger. Chapter 55:11. Now that the Jun and Xiao families have suffered heavy losses, I'm afraid it will be difficult for them to recover in a short period of time. However, I'm more worried that the token to open the Land of Heritage is still in their hands. After this incident, won't it be difficult to get them to agree to hand over the token if we want to open the Land of Heritage again? Bailey Hongzhuang's clear eyes were filled with worry. Her expression was grave and serious. She had long known that the Land of Heritage was extremely important to the D family. This was also the most important reason why she competed for the position of Saintess of Light. They won't. Di Beichen's expression was indifferent. Opening the Land of Heritage is beneficial to all three families. Even if they don't like us, they won't ignore the interests of their families. Lin Taxing naturally knew about the Land of Heritage. He also frowned. It would be great if we could snatch the tokens from the two families. Unfortunately, it's too difficult. In the past, it was only possible to open the Land of Heritage by combining the blood of the two families. If we can confirm that the blood of Hong Zhuang and I can open it, then perhaps we can think of other methods in the future. Di Beichen's gaze was deep. The Jun and Xiao families were both their opponents. Now they needed their help to open the Land of Heritage. With the character of these two families, they would inevitably be manipulated when the time came. He did not like this feeling. Let's discuss this matter with Uncle first. This matter is not urgent for the time being. There will always be a way. Di Beichen held Bailey Hongzhuang's small hand. Ever since we returned to the family, you have been worrying about me and the family's affairs. I also feel very sorry for you. You don't have to worry too much about these things. Just leave them to me. With a wife like this, what more could a husband ask for? He knew very well that Hong Zhuang knew how important his family was to him. He did not want his family to suffer any loss or harm. That was why she had been working so hard these days. In fact, in his heart, Hong Zhuang was the most important. In his heart, the Land of Heritage was nothing compared to Hong Zhuang's happiness. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. I just want to share some of your burdens. Besides, I'm very happy to see everyone happy. Lin Taxing looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, who was willing to sacrifice for Di Beichen. A trace of admiration and envy unconsciously appeared in his eyes. This kind of relationship was really something that others could not be envied. Beichen, Hongzhuang is such a good girl. If you let her down, it would be intolerable. Hearing this, Di Beichen looked serious. Hongzhuang, do you have any sisters? Introduce her to me. Keep the goodies within the family. I see you two lovey-dovey every day, and I'm so envious. Lin Taxing's eyes were filled with excitement. So far, apart from Bailey Hongzhuang, he had never seen such a good woman. It would be great if she had a sister or something. Taxing, you will be disappointed. Di Beichen smiled. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head. My parents only gave birth to one daughter. Most importantly, she wasn't even from this place. What a pity. Lin Taxing sighed, obviously disappointed. When Lin Yi came back, everyone found that she was in a good mood. She was no longer depressed and dissatisfied. Chapter 55:12. The blazing sun was like fire, and there were no clouds in the sky. After staying in the Ao family for a few days, Di Baichen saw that everyone's injuries were getting better, so he didn't continue to stay in the Ao family. Ling Xiao will be heading back first. Di Baichen looked at Ao Ling Xiao and the elders of the Ao family and said his goodbyes. Seeing that his old friends were about to leave, Ao Ling Xiao was a little reluctant. Ever since they started on Penglai Island, he had been working with everyone. During this period of time, he had experienced a deep friendship. He had even gotten used to working with everyone. Now that everyone was about to leave, and he was the only one left, he couldn't help but feel sad. Ling Xiao, once the family's matters are settled, you can come and find us if you miss us. When Xiren smiled, his eyes flashing. When the time comes, we'll drink until we're drunk. Ao Ling Xiao nodded. I'll definitely come and find you soon. Haha, we'll wait for you. Everyone waved their hands, then turned and left together. The golden sunlight shone on everyone's bodies, casting long shadows on their bodies. This was only a short separation. They believed that they would fight side by side in the future. At the same time, the news that the Jun family and the Xiao family planned to deal with the young master of the Di family, but were taught a lesson by the Di family, and the Lin family quickly spread among the major forces. When everyone heard this news, they were all shocked. However, when they thought about the grudges between the four great families, they understood. There had always been constant disputes between the four great clans, especially during this period of time when everyone knew about it. The Di family has been riding high recently. It's expected that the Jun family and the Xiao family would want to deal with them. However, I didn't expect them to be so weak that they were taught a lesson. This is really the case of the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. I heard that they wanted to kill Di Baichen and Bailey Hongzhuang in one fell swoop. This Bailey Hongzhuang has just become the Holy Maiden of Light. Although I know that the Xiao family hates Bailey Hongzhuang to the bone, the Holy Assembly won't just sit by and watch them make a move on the Holy Maiden of Light. That's for sure. It took the Holy Light Assembly so many years to find the Holy Maiden of the Holy Light. Someone dared to target her as soon as she took over. It would be wrong if the Holy Light Assembly didn't do anything. The news spread rapidly. The feud between the four major families had indeed been going on for a long time. But now that the Holy Light Assembly had joined, this matter had become even more interesting. Almost everyone thought that it was a good time for the Di clan to rise up. Almost every time, everyone thought that the Di clan would definitely lose. However, the Di clan would always be able to turn the tables around. Furthermore, they were able to turn the tables so thoroughly. Even though the Jun family had the help of the Xiao family, they were still no match for the Di family. On the contrary, they were being suppressed everywhere. In the future, the Di family will be very powerful. With the Saint of Light as their daughter-in-law, won't it be easier for them to develop? The cultivators of the Di family were now in high spirits outside the family. They could even cause a gust of wind when they walked. When Bailey Hongzhuang and the others returned to the family, they were naturally warmly welcomed by the family members. Greetings, young master and young madam. Chapter 55:13. In the past, many people treated me as a goal to strive for. Now you've completely squeezed me out. My status has plummeted. Di Xiaofeng shook his head and sighed. His disappointed expression was filled with helplessness and sadness. Big brother, come on. Quit while you're ahead. Di Baichen teased. Haha, in short, we've won a great victory this time. Our family has also gained face. Right now, all the news outside is beneficial to our family. We've only been back for a few days, and there are already many forces wanting to get closer to us and be used by us. Grandfather and father have been in a good mood recently. I haven't seen them so happy in a long time. Di Xiaofeng's expression was relaxed. His originally handsome face had a sunny and warm smile, making him look even more elegant and handsome. The surrounding young women couldn't help blushing when they saw him like this. Their adoration was overflowing. That's good. Baichen's beautiful thin lips hooked up. His slanted eyebrows rose slightly. Then we can rest assured. Right, Hong Zhuang? A deacon from the Radiant Sacred Assembly came looking for you. Di Xiaofeng became more serious. He came looking for you after hearing about what happened this time. He must have received orders from the Radiant Sacred Assembly's president. Oh! Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly surprised. Where is he now? We've treated him as an important guest. He's currently resting in the guest room. I'll send someone to inform him now. Thank you, big brother. You're now the holy maiden of the Radiant Sacred Assembly. Since the Xiao and Jun families dared to touch you, the Radiant Sacred Assembly won't let this matter go so easily. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. This situation was within her expectations. The Radiant Sacred Assembly had a supreme position in the upper realm. In addition, the Holy Maiden of the Radiant Sacred Assembly was their belief. If someone dared to target her, it would be strange if the Radiant Sacred Assembly would let them go so easily. Thinking about it, the Jun and Xiao families must have been certain that she wouldn't have a chance to leave this time. That was why they dared to take such a big risk to do this. However, they didn't expect that in the end, there would be such a result. They deserved it. Bai Lianche's eyes were bone-chilling. If the Radiant Sacred Assembly teaches them a lesson, that would be satisfying. They'll disappear sooner or later. Ling Er also said coldly. As the successor of the Saint of Light, she was very clear that Bailey Hongzhuang's future achievements would not be simple. The Xiao family and the Jun family are courting death. Soon, Bailey Hongzhuang saw the deacon sent by the Holy Light Assembly, but when she saw him, her face showed a smile of understanding. Greetings, Saintess. Shi Hongqiao bowed respectfully. When he raised his head, the solemn look on his face was replaced by a familiar smile. Shi Hongqiao sat down and said, Holy Maiden, the president was very worried when he heard that the Xiao and Jun families dared to attack you. He immediately sent me to check on your situation. You should have heard the news. I'm fine. This time, the Jun and Xiao families are the ones who suffered losses. However, they dared to attack me despite knowing my identity. Bailey Hongzhuang narrowed her eyes. Since the other party wanted to take her life, she naturally wouldn't let them have a good time. Chapter 55:14. Noticing the flash of coldness in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes, Shi Hongqiao understood that the Saintess of the Holy Light was not easy to deal with. The incident this time had completely angered her. Saintess, the entire Sacred Assembly is furious after knowing about this. The president has already said that he will not let this matter go so easily. You can rest assured. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. She was very confident in the Sacred Assembly's ability. If I'm not wrong, the president has probably already sent people to the Jun family or the Xiao family today. Shi Hongqiao looked serious. In fact, they had only known about this for a short period of time. In addition, they had been moving the Sacred Assembly's headquarters, so it took some time for them to travel back and forth. Do you need me to deal with this matter? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows slightly. Her expression was somewhat playful. That's up to the Saintess. However, the president has already made an appearance. Even if we rush over, I'm afraid it will be too late. Shi Hongqiao's eyes were filled with thoughts. He seemed to be thinking about how far the president had progressed. Noticing Shi Hongqiao's expression, Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand and said, I believe in the president. Since the president has already made an appearance, I don't need to deal with this matter. If she rushed over at this moment, the other party might think that she was bullying them. It was more appropriate to leave it to the Sacred Assembly to deal with. Yes, Saintess. Is there anything else you want to tell me? This is the letter the president asked me to pass to you. There's nothing else. Bailey Hongzhuang took the letter from Shi Hongqiao and opened it with her slender fingers. After skimming through the contents, she understood. The president did not say much in the letter. He only asked her to rest well. There was no need to worry about this matter. The Sacred Assembly would definitely let the Jun family and the Xiao family know the price of angering them. In addition, he hoped that she could study the Saintess crystal well. I understand. Bailey Hongzhuang put away the letter. Tell the president that I will do my best. Yes. After Bailey Hongzhuang explained everything, Shi Hongqiao didn't stay any longer and quickly went back to report. During this time, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen also made a trip to the gathering place of the dark attribute cultivators. However, Huang Futing and the others were still training and had yet to return. I wonder how their training went this time. Bailey Hongzhuang had a hint of worry in her eyes. I hope no one else will find out. Otherwise, it will be more troublesome. They've been hiding very well all these years. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be any problems. Don't worry. Di Beichen had a confident smile on his face. From the moment he met Huang Futing, he trusted him very much and believed that his methods would not be bad. Beichen, now that the Jun family and the Xiao family have been attacked, although we don't know the methods of the Holy Assembly, they probably won't be able to do anything for a while. We've been in the upper realm for a while now. It just so happens that we don't have anything to do recently. Why don't we go back to the lower realm? Her ink-black phoenix eyes stared at Di Beichen, full of hope and expectation. Chapter 55:15. Now that her family had not heard from her for so long, they must be very worried. Previously, she had been delayed by many things, so she did not have the chance to leave. Now that many things had been resolved, there was no need to worry for the time being. Now that she had the opportunity to go back and see her parents, she could also feel more at ease. Moreover, ever since she became the head of the Bailey family, she was prepared to bring her parents over. The cultivation resources in the upper realm were much better than the lower realm. She believed that when her parents came over, their strength would definitely improve again. If they could settle down in the upper realm, that would be excellent. This way, it would be more convenient for her to reunite with her family. Most importantly, the upper realm was a higher level of existence. No one could guarantee that the cultivators from the upper realm would not easily enter the lower realm in the future. Once such a thing happened, it would definitely cause turmoil in the entire lower realm. She only hoped that the people she cared about would be safe and sound. Only with stronger strength would she have more confidence. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Di Beichen smiled slightly. I happen to have the same plan. When I went to see father yesterday, I already mentioned it to him. I know that you have always been worried about father-in-law and mother-in-law. We have been away for so long, so it is indeed time for us to go back. We can't let them keep worrying about us. You have already told father? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up, her eyes filled with surprise and joy. Di Beichen looked at the beautiful woman in front of him dotingly and said, "That's right." Then what did father say? Father is very supportive of our plan, and even supports us bringing father-in-law and mother-in-law over. As soon as he said this, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile widened, full of surprise. That's really great. She had always kept this matter in her heart, but unfortunately she could not leave, so it had been delayed until now. During this period of time, too many things have happened. Otherwise, I would have brought you back to have a look. Di Beichen was a little apologetic. From the first time Bailey Hongzhuang mentioned this matter to him, he had kept it in his heart and had never forgotten it. You don't have to say any more. I understand. Bailey Hongzhuang put her index finger on Di Beichen's lips, stopping him from apologizing. Di Beichen lightly pecked her tender fingers. Bailey Hongzhuang only felt a numbing sensation on her hand. She hurriedly wanted to withdraw her hand, but Di Beichen held it tightly in his hand. Wife, you're always so cute. Your husband won't be able to control himself. You want to bully a commoner girl in broad daylight. Bailey Hongzhuang laughed. If we can't do it during the day, then let's do it at night. After the Radiant Sacred Assembly took action, the news spread quickly. Have you heard? The president of the Radiant Sacred Assembly led the cultivators of the Sacred Assembly to the Jun family and Xiao family. It is said that he taught the two family heads a lesson. I heard that Jun Hongqing and Xiao Yanlong had already been severely injured by the D family members. Initially, they didn't want to come out, but the president of the Federation of Light appeared and forced them to come out. Moreover, he didn't hesitate to add to their injuries. Not only that, the businesses of the two family heads were also affected, and the impact was not small. Chapter 55:16. The D family was naturally the first to know about this news. After everyone heard about the situation of the Xiao family and the Jun family, all the cultivators of the D family began to clap their hands in joy. Who told them to try to kill our young master and young madam? They deserve to be taught a lesson like this. I really hope that we can make them disappear. But it's a pity that it's too difficult. Don't worry too much about it. Now that they've been taught a lesson, it's impossible for them to recover in a short period of time. I believe that they'll be defeated by our D family sooner or later. Bailey Hongzhuang was on her way to the assembly hall when she heard the fervent discussions of the cultivators of the D family. From the sincere joy on their faces, one could tell that they were excited and emotional at this moment. Perhaps influenced by the joy of the disciples, Bailey Hongzhuang's face also bloomed into a bright smile. It seems that the Jun family and the Xiao family have really suffered a great loss this time. She already knew that with the Holy Light Assembly taking action, the punishment would definitely not be firm. It would naturally be extremely difficult to destroy the Jun family. However, after teaching them a harsh lesson, they probably wouldn't dare to have any ideas about her again. Today, he was no longer the cultivator from the lower realm, who could be easily manipulated by them. On the contrary, his position was now no weaker than the two families. If the other party dared to have any ideas about her again, they would probably suffer a disaster the next time. Di Beichen nodded slightly. Although we've only heard the news from outside, I'm afraid that the real situation is not far from the truth. Once we reach the assembly hall, we'll know more about it. At this moment, the D family's assembly hall was also immersed in joy. Di Yujua's face was filled with a joyful smile. One could tell how happy he was from the curve of his eyes. Jun Hongcheng and Xiao Yanlong have really shot themselves in the foot this time. I originally wanted to use this opportunity to deal a heavy blow to the D family, but I never thought that I would end up losing myself instead. Just thinking about it makes me feel exceptionally happy. Di Yujua laughed heartily, his loud and clear voice penetrating into everyone's ears. They deserved it, especially the Jun family. They've been having ideas about us all these years. What's worse is that they actually did such a thing to Beichen. They deserve to be punished now. I think this result is a little light. It's better to let him die. Lin Yunqing's eyes were filled with disgust as a thick sense of resentment gathered in her heart. When she recalled everything that she had endured over the years, she hated that she could not kill the culprit with her own hands. That's right. The Jun family's actions are too shameless. Haoan, that child, is also pitiful. Xiao Wanrong shook her head and sighed. Although the Jun family wasn't very good in the past, they seemed to have become particularly shameless in Junhong City. The news came back that Jun Hongcheng, as the leader, was seriously injured and unconscious by the president of the Holy Assembly. Two elders were also seriously injured. Now the Jun family can be said to be in a gloomy situation. They can't be arrogant anymore. Di Linxian was obviously very happy about this. Thinking about the Jun family's various plots against them all these years, he felt really relieved to receive such a punishment. When Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen arrived, they heard everyone's conversation and were immediately happy. Chapter 55:17. Xiao Wanrong looked at Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang with satisfaction. The reason why the D family had such a big change was all because of these two little fellows. If she hadn't seen all of this with her own eyes, she would have found it hard to believe that these two little fellows were so smart and capable. Thinking back, although they had always been on guard, the June family was always thinking of ways to target them. It was really impossible to guard against them. However, ever since her grandson and granddaughter-in-law returned, these problems were solved one after another. Not to mention her, everyone felt that it was hard to believe when they connected all of this together. Now that they could even snatch the position of the Holy Maiden, she really felt that there was nothing that they couldn't solve. Following Xia Wanrong's words, the elders in the hall nodded one after another. Their eyes fell on the two most dazzling young people. During this period of time, everything that they had done shocked everyone present. Indeed, these two little fellows are extraordinarily powerful, Di Lin Xian said with a smile. From the beginning of the competition for the quota to enter the Immortal Cloud secret territory, until now, the June family's plan has not succeeded. The Xiao family has also been defeated step by step. You two are really our family's lucky stars. This time, the plan to find the spy was all Beichen's plan. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Dai Heoan had actually done them a big favor before he died. If Dai Heoan hadn't told them everything, it wouldn't have been easy for them to defeat the other party. Young madam, you're too modest, Di Chuan couldn't help but say. In this matter, your contributions cannot go unnoticed. Beichen Hongzhuang, when do you plan to return to the lower realm? Di Yujue also remembered this matter after his joy. He originally thought that Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang would leave 2 days ago. However, now it seemed that they were waiting to hear the news from the June family before leaving. Father, one of the reasons we came here today is to bid farewell. Di Beichen cupped his hands and said. Beichen, you plan to return to the lower realms? Di Lin Xian was slightly surprised. Clearly, he had not heard of this news before. Di Beichen nodded slightly. Hongzhuang's relatives are still in the lower realm. Back then, we accidentally came to the upper realm. We didn't even have time to tell them before we left. Now that we've been here for so long, it's time to go back. I see. Di Lin Xian immediately understood and hurriedly said. Then we should make a trip back. Father, I heard that cultivators from the upper realm can't easily go to the lower realm. Can we go there directly? Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but ask the question in her heart. When she first came to the upper realm, she was eager to leave, but she learned that under normal circumstances, it was impossible to go to the lower realm through this teleportation formation. Di Yujue smiled faintly. If it were anyone else, it would be a very complicated process to go to the lower realm. However, it's different for you. You're the Holy Maiden of the Light now. No one will stop you. The Holy Maiden of the Light also has special privileges in this regard? Bailey Hongzhuang was surprised. She had never heard of this before. If you want to go to the lower realm, you'll need the approval of the Sacred Assembly. As the Holy Maiden of the Light, would the Sacred Assembly not allow you to leave? I see. Chapter 55:18. Previously, she had been worried about this problem, so her heart had not calmed down. She did not expect that this problem, which she thought was the most difficult to solve, would be solved so easily. It made her feel that her previous worries were unnecessary. You have a long way to go back, so you have to be careful during the process. Although most of the cultivators in the lower realm are not as strong as you, there is no guarantee that there won't be other unexpected situations. Di Yujue exhorted. He had been to Tiangang sect, and knew that the journey there was quite a long way. However, with the current strength of Di Beichen and the others, the speed of their journey must be extremely fast. Father, don't worry. We will be careful. Di Beichen looked relaxed. When you go to the lower realm this time, if possible, bring my granddaughter-in-law's relatives over. In this upper realm, it will be easier for my granddaughter-in-law to reunite with her family. Otherwise, it will be more difficult to meet in two places. Xia Wanrong looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with heartache. Although they all tried their best to treat Bailey Hongzhuang well, the closest relatives could not be replaced. Bailey Hongzhuang integrated into their family as quickly as possible, But this was not her real home after all. For so long, she had never mentioned this point. Presumably, she often missed her family in her heart. Speaking of which, they were not thoughtful enough. Wouldn't it be better if they could bring their granddaughter-in-law's family over earlier? Grandmother, thank you for your concern. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled sweetly. Since she came to the D family, her grandmother had always been very doting on her. She put herself in her shoes for everything. She could feel that this old woman really loved her. She was also very grateful for this, and was also very fortunate to have such a good grandmother. Grandmother, that's what we're planning to do this time. Today, we are here to say goodbye to everyone, and prepare to leave. Be careful on the road. Prepare more gifts for your father-in-law, mother-in-law, and master. Lin Yunqing exhorted and quickly ordered the maid beside her. Go to the resource room to help pack. Mother, you don't have to be so polite. Bailey Hongzhuang saw this and quickly said, that won't do. Lin Yunqing had a serious expression on her face. Speaking of which, we should go personally. However, there are a lot of family matters to attend to. Recently, the Jun family and the Xiao family have been suppressed, which is a good opportunity for us to expand. Therefore, we can't go with you. However, even if we can't do it personally, we have to do it with our hearts. It is our blessing to have such a good daughter-in-law marry into our D family. That's right. Xia Wanrong also nodded. We can't be rude in this kind of matter. Yunqing, in my opinion, the two of us should go and make preparations. Lin Yunqing's eyes lit up. The mother-in-law and daughter-in-law hit it off immediately. Mother, let's go now. Bailey Hongzhuang opened her mouth, but Di Beichen was the first to speak. Wife, this is grandmother and mother's kind intentions, don't refuse. All right then. Bailey Hongzhuang replied. Seeing how busy the two of them were for her return, she couldn't help but feel a sense of happiness in her heart. This kind of warm feeling really made people happy from the bottom of their hearts. Don't run away first. We will be ready soon. Before going out, Xia Wanrong didn't forget to remind them. Chapter 55:19. When Bailey Hongzhuang saw the things that her mother-in-law and grandmother had prepared for her return to her parents' home, she had already guessed that there would be a lot of things. However, when she saw it with her own eyes, she realized that she had underestimated the two's combat effectiveness. Were they trying to empty the D family's resource room? As far as the eye could see, medicinal herbs, pills, rare treasures, and almost all the treasures that one could imagine were all here. Grandmother, mother, this is too much and too precious. Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but speak up. So many things were extremely precious, even in the upper realm. It's not expensive, it's not expensive. Xia Wanrong shook her head. She held Bailey Hongzhuang in one hand, and stroked the back of her hand with the other. Her expression was serious and full of affection. No matter how precious it is, it's not as precious as you. We're really grateful that the in-laws are willing to marry you to Beichen. Besides, your maternal grandfather has been taking care of Beichen all these years. We can never repay this kindness. We can only wait for them to come to the upper realm before we express our gratitude. That's right. We really can't get away now. Lin Yunqing turned to look at Di Beichen and said, Beichen, you have to explain this to us when you get back. Mother, grandmother, don't worry. I'll take care of it. Besides, my master and the others aren't people who will fuss over small matters. That's good, that's good. Lin Yunqing felt a little more at ease. They could never repay this kindness. However, she had also learned from Di Yujue that Hongzhuang's relatives were very easy to get along with. If not for this, they would not have taken care of Beichen so much back then, and even betrothed Hongzhuang to him. It was only after Bailey Hongzhuang had agreed to accept all of this that Xia Wanrong and Di Yujue left in satisfaction. Let's go. Let's go see how Xiren and the others are tidying up. Di Beichen held Bailey Hongzhuang's soft and seemingly boneless hand and hurried towards the residence of Xiren and the others. Aya, hurry up and pack up. We have to go back quickly. Before Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Yujue arrived, they had already heard Shengguan Yingying's voice commanding Xiren. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and went to the door. She looked at the two people who were busy in the room and said with a smile, "How are you guys doing? We're ready and can leave at any time." Soon. I'll be able to leave after I collect all these things." Shangguan winked at Wenziren, motioning him to pack up the rest of the things, before walking to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. At the same time, as a henpecked husband, Wenziren could only accept his fate and pack up. "Hongzhuang, have you said goodbye?" Shangguan asked with a smile. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. "Yes, we've already talked about it. We've already agreed. And there's nothing to do recently. We don't have to worry about the Jun family and the Xiao family causing trouble. Although it will take some time to go back, it's still very fast with our current speed." "That's true." Shangguan Ying's eyes were filled with joy and comfort. "Actually, we haven't been in the upper realm for long, but we've gained a lot. When we go back, everyone will be very happy to see our improvement." Chapter 55:20. Looking at Shangguan Ying's excited look, Bailey Hongzhuang was also infected by her emotions, and the smile in her eyes continued to ripple. "We haven't gone back for so long. I'm afraid that our family is very worried about us. But thinking about going back and being able to see them, I'm really surprised." "That's not true." Shangguan Ying raised her eyebrows. "I've never left before, but this time I've been away for so long, and I've gained so much. When I go back, they can't say that I only stay in the sect to cultivate all day and don't know how to go out to gain experience. By the way, how's Yunju's preparation?" Di Beichen looked at Wenziren, who was packing in full swing, and could not help but think of Mo Yunjue, who had not appeared until now. "Oh." Shangguan Ying seemed to have suddenly remembered something and said, "After I told Yunju about this matter, Yunju said that he would tell you in detail when you came over, but I don't know what to say." Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other, and they were a little puzzled. At this time, what did Mo Yunjue want to say to them? "Di Beichen, let's go find Yunju," Bailey Hongzhuang suggested. "Okay." The two immediately walked towards Mo Yunjue's residence, and when Wenziren and Shangguan Ying followed after seeing this. Yunju came from the lower realm like them, and logically speaking, now that he had the chance to go back to the lower realm, it should be a very happy thing. Mo Yunjue looked at the four people outside the house, and his always cold face softened a little. "You're here." Bailey Hongzhuang noticed at a glance that Mo Yunjue's house was not packed, as if there were no signs of him leaving, and could not help but frown. "Yunju, we're ready to leave. Why haven't you packed?" "Hongzhuang, this time when you go back to the lower realm, I won't go with you." Mo Yunjue looked calm, and his magnetic and cold voice seemed very indifferent. However, Shangguan Ying could not help but exclaim, "It's not easy to have the opportunity to go back to the lower realm. And you don't want to go?" Mo Yunjue was the young master of Shitian Tower. If it wasn't for Bailey Hongzhuang, he would not go to Penglai Island. Naturally, he would not come to the upper realm. "I have nothing to go back. Go his. To S, during this time. I'll go out to experience and experience I'll come here and come here." "Yunju, have you really thought it through?" Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but ask again. "It's not easy for us to go back. If you don't go back this time, I'm afraid it will be even more difficult to go back in the future." Facing Bailey Hongzhuang's worry, Mo Yunjue's gaze became softer and softer. He smiled faintly and said, "I understand, but I've already decided. If it's convenient for you to go back this time, please help me send this letter back." Mo Yunjue took out a letter and handed it to Bailey Hongzhuang. After Bailey Hongzhuang took it, she nodded and said, "Well, if you've made up your mind, I won't persuade you anymore." "Yunju, are you planning to go out to experience the world by yourself?" Di Beichen frowned slightly, and his warm voice was filled with concern. Chapter 55:21. Looking at Mo Yunjua's confident and calm appearance, Di Baichen nodded slightly. From the beginning to the end, he knew that Mo Yunjua was an extremely powerful genius. Even after coming to the upper realm, his performance had never been inferior. Although the Heavenly Slaughter Tower was in the lower realm, as the young master of an assassination organization, his means and ability were far from what ordinary cultivators could compare to. In addition, his heart was tenacious and strong, so there was no need to worry about him wandering in the upper realm. If you want to know something or need any help, you can tell my big brother. He will do his best to help. Di Baichen said in a deep voice. Thank you. Mo Yunjua smiled faintly. You don't have to worry about me. I have been alone all these years, and have long been used to it. Going out to gain experience is also beneficial to my improvement. If there are no accidents, I should also go to the mercenary union. All right then. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded, waved the letter in her hand, and said with a smile. Don't worry, I will definitely deliver this letter. It wasn't until they left Mo Yunjua's residence that Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but say, I really admire Yunjua. If it were an ordinary person, they definitely wouldn't give up this opportunity to go back. But looking at him alone, I still feel a little uncomfortable. Bailey Hongzhuang's heart sank when she heard this. If it were not for her, Mo Yunjua would not have come to the upper realm at all. However, she was afraid that she would not be able to repay this kindness in this lifetime. According to my previous understanding, although Yunju is the young master of the Heavenly Slaughter Tower, I'm afraid that there is nothing that he cares about, so this time he does not plan to go back. You don't have to worry about this. Yunju must have his reasons for doing this. Di Baichen said slowly. That's right, you can rest assured. Xiren also said. Yunju is so opinionated, he must have thought everything through. After Xiren and Wen Xingya had finished packing up, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three began their journey to the lower realm. The four of them sat on Di Baichen's flying magic tool. With this flying magic tool, they could travel much faster than before. Baichen, which city are we teleporting from this time? When Xiren asked, Shangguan Yingying's eyes lit up, and she couldn't help but say, if it's possible, why don't we go back through the transmission array in Rong'an City? That's not bad. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved slightly, and in her mind, she couldn't help but think of three familiar figures. We haven't seen Brother Wan Yen and the others for a long time. I don't know how they are doing now. If we can pass through Rong'an City, we can also meet them. Di Baichen looked at their expectant faces and laughed involuntarily. Since you have already made up your minds, what are you still thinking about? Haha. Everyone looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh out loud. Rong'an City. After more than 10 days of traveling, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others finally arrived at Rong'an City. Looking at the familiar city wall, the four of them had joyful smiles on their faces. We're back again. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed softly. She had mixed feelings about Rong'an City. She naturally felt very lucky to know Wan Yanhan and the others, but she did not have a good impression of the Holy Assembly. Chapter 55:22. Perhaps it was because she had a bad impression of the Holy Assembly back then, so even after returning to the D family, she had never planned to go to the Holy Assembly. However, it was a good thing that the president was a very nice person. Moreover, she had never heard of such strange remarks in the headquarters of the Holy Assembly. Even after she had become the saintess of the Holy Assembly, no one had ever mentioned anything about her and Baichen's attributes. Walking on the spacious and flat streets of Rong'an City, the four of them attracted everyone's attention almost instantly. Look, isn't that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen from the Blazing Flame sect? That's right, it's them. After a cultivator recognized Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen, many other cultivators realized this and were instantly shocked. Back then, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen were influential figures in the Blazing Flame sect, especially after Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen's attributes had awakened. It could be said that everyone knew about them. Now that the two of them had appeared here again, It was natural that they would be recognized immediately. Lower your voice. She's the saintess of the Holy Assembly now. How dare you call her by her name? Do you have a death wish? After someone's reminder, everyone hurriedly stopped talking. The Holy Assembly had finally found the saintess of the Holy Assembly, and even caused such a huge commotion. In a short period of time, the news had spread throughout the entire upper realm. Rongan City was also a relatively large city, so the speed at which the news spread was naturally extremely fast. In addition, such an important matter had attracted everyone's attention. However, when everyone saw the portrait of the saintess of the Holy Assembly, everyone was shocked. Almost everyone who had heard of Bailey Hongzhuang's name was dumbfounded, especially the Holy Assembly and the Blazing Flames sect. Back then, the vice president of the Holy Assembly had rejected Bailey Hongzhuang. Fortunately, the president was not as unreasonable as the vice president. Otherwise, the Holy Assembly branch in Rong and City would be in for a good show. As for the Blazing Flames sect, it was needless to say. Back then, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were very famous figures in the Blazing Flames sect. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang had become the saintess of the Holy Assembly and Di Beichen was the young master of the Di family, their identities were simply shocking. Although the cultivators around them had lowered their voices, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were still able to hear them. Bailey Hongzhuang, Shengguan Yingying's name. Shengguan Xingying's, Shengguan Xue Xue, Shengguan Yingying's, Shengguan Xue 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 of the young master of the Holy Assembly. Saintess of the Holy, Saintess of the Holy Holy Saintess. Saintess of the Holy 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 Saintess of the Holy Saintess of the Holy Saintess. Xue in the day, Xue Xue Xue, quick, Xue 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 brother and Xue Wu Xue family. When Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen arrived at the Blazing Flame sect, Wanyan Han, Wanyan Ling, and Yi Haomiao were already waiting for them. Looking at the three familiar figures, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's faces were filled with joy. Senior brother Wanyan Haomiao, we meet again. Di Beichen quickly walked forward and gave them a hug. Haha, I didn't expect it to really be you guys. Wanyan Han laughed loudly. When I heard this news from others, I thought it was fake. How could busy people like you have the time to come here? I didn't expect it to be true. I'm so happy. Chapter 55-23. I'm so happy to see you again. Yi Haomiao's face was filled with joy and excitement. Nothing could compare to the joy of reuniting with old friends. Haha, we're also very happy to see you again. Let's go. Let's not stand here. Let's go to the restaurant we used to frequent, Wanyan Han suggested. Everyone hit it off and immediately walked toward the restaurant. Why did you come to Rongan City this time? Wanyan Ling could not help but ask. With Di Beichen and the others' current status, they should not have returned here. Di Beichen did not intend to hide it. To be honest, we were planning to return to the lower world this time. However, we remembered that Hong Zhuang came to Rongan City through the teleportation formation and wanted to see you, so we came back here. I see. Wanyan Ling understood and his eyes were filled with surprise. You're going back to the lower world. Hong Zhuang, I told you that it would be very difficult to return to the lower world. I didn't expect you to do it so quickly. You're amazing. Wanyan Han could not help but sigh. When Bailey Hongzhuang first came here, she wanted to leave. However, he told her clearly that it was very difficult to return to the lower world. Generally speaking, there was no hope at all. However, in just a few short years, Bailey Hongzhuang could go back. It was amazing. I was just lucky to become the Saint of Light. That's why I have the chance to go back now. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Oh right, senior brothers. Do you have any plans to go back? If you want to go back to Tiger Hill, you can come back with us this time. Wanyan Han and Wanyan Ling looked at each other and shook their heads. Our families are long gone. We've always depended on each other. There's no point in going back now. We finally came to the upper world. We plan to stay here forever. That's right. Back then, we risked our lives to come here. Wanyan Ling smiled. It seems that you're doing well in the Blazing Flame sect. Di Beichen raised his lips and chuckled. I noticed that when you appeared, the cultivators of Raging Flame Gate were very respectful to you. Beichen, this is all thanks to you guys. Yi Haomiao put down his teacup, his interest peaked. When you left, everyone already knew that your identities were extraordinary. Since then, everyone's attitude towards us has become much better than before. Steward Wu has always been good to us. Later on, he even put us in important positions. Not long ago, there was news that Hong Zhuang had become the Saintess of the Light. This is even more incredible. I really didn't expect that you guys would still help us after leaving. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be where we are now. Wang Yanhan sighed. How could he have imagined that the woman he had coincidentally saved back then was the Saint of Light? Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other. They didn't expect that they would have such a big impact. However, this was also a good thing. Senior brother Wan Yan, if you hadn't saved me, I would have already died. Speaking of which, I should be the one thanking you. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled tenderly. Come, let me toast you with a cup of wine. Chapter 55-24. When Xiren looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and Wan Yanhan, who were thanking each other, and couldn't help but laugh. In my opinion, there's no need to thank each other. This is all fate. There's no cause without effect. If senior brother Wan Yan hadn't saved Hong Zhuang, all these things wouldn't have happened. So, this is all fate. Hearing Xiren's words, Bailey Hongzhuang and Wan Yanhan looked at each other and smiled. That's right, it's all fate. Then let's toast to fate. Di Beichen raised his cup and laughed. Cheers. After not seeing each other for a long time, everyone was very happy to be reunited. With good wine, good food and good friends, everyone drank to their heart's content. They didn't leave the restaurant until the evening. Beichen, it's getting late. Why don't you stay here for the night and leave tomorrow? Wan Yanling pondered. Di Beichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two behind him and shook his head. We'll go directly to the lower world. We have to hurry anyway. Plus, there's the training ground. The environment is the same whether it's day or night. Then you have to be careful, Yi Haomiao said with concern. Haomiao, have you drunk too much? Wan Yanhan looked at Yi Haomiao helplessly. With Beichen's current strength, there's basically no need to worry about danger in the lower world. Yi Haomiao suddenly understood and patted his head. Look at my brain. I'm worried for nothing after drinking too much. Senior brother Haomiao, if you don't want to stay in the Blazing Flame School and want to leave here, why don't you join us? Before leaving, Di Beichen spoke again. His deep black eyes were filled with sincerity. It was rare to have such close friends in the upper world. He also hoped that they could stay together forever. Wan Yanhan nodded. We'll consider it. If we plan to leave, we'll go directly to the Di family to find you. Although Rong'an City is not a small city, its opportunities are not as good as those of the aristocratic families. You should consider it carefully, Wen Xiren also advised. Wan Yanhan and the other two exchanged glances. Actually, they also understood that Di Beichen and Xiren were telling the truth. Even though they were valued by the Inferno School, their development was still not as good as that of Di Beichen. Back then, Xiren's strength was not stronger than theirs. But now, when Xiren's strength had surpassed theirs, this was the difference. Furthermore, when Xiren and the others had entered the Immortal Cloud secret realm, this was something that they could not touch at all. However, as ordinary cultivators, they also knew that the Immortal Cloud secret realm was a top training ground. Unfortunately, only the top cultivators of the various large factions had the opportunity to enter. With their current situation, they might not be able to reach that level even if they worked hard for a lifetime. This is my keepsake. When the time comes, if you decide to find us, just bring this keepsake to the Emperor Cloud City. Wan Yanhan took the keepsake from Di Beichen and held it tightly in his hand. He nodded seriously and said, Okay. Noticing the change in Wan Yanhan's expression, Di Beichen knew that he had some plans. Then we'll leave first today. See you later. See you later. Looking at the familiar transmission array in front of them, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others smiled at each other and walked in without hesitation. If it was any other day, they would definitely stop anyone who entered the transmission array. Chapter 55-25. When the four of them opened their eyes again, they were greeted by that familiar darkness. Looking at the terrifying skeleton army in front of them, they were no longer as nervous and apprehensive as they were before. The skeletons that had once been difficult for them to deal with now felt particularly familiar. After all, Di Baichen was the true Dark Holy Sun, and these skeletons were practically his own people. Thinking back, it was really dangerous here. Fortunately, Ling Er was there, and Hongzhuang was fine. Shangguan Yingying sighed with lingering fear. If Ling Er wasn't there, they really wouldn't be interested in doing anything if something happened to Bailey Hongzhuang. Speaking of which, are Ling Er and Yin Che still cultivating in seclusion? Xiren couldn't help but ask. Ling Er is of the light attribute, and she's also a dragon. If she appears in this training ground, she'll be a beacon of light, so she doesn't plan to come out. It won't be too late for her to come out after we leave the training ground. Then what about Yin Che? Shangguan Yingying asked doubtfully. Yin Che has two attributes. He's busy cultivating, but since Ling Er came out, he should also come out. As soon as they appear, they'll be arguing nonstop. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head and sighed. In the past, it was Xiao He and Xiao Bai who were chattering nonstop, but these two little guys were still of one mind most of the time. However, Bai Li Yin Che and Ling Er were different. These two were completely a pair of enemies, and they would fight no matter what. Actually, she felt that it was pretty good for these two to stay in the chaos ring. Haha, actually, I think it's very lively like this. Shangguan Yingying looked excited. It's so fun. You just want to see the world burn, Xiren said. Actually, it's probably because Ling Er always bullied Yin Che before he transformed into a human, so he decided to turn the tables on her after he transformed into a human. That's why he ended up like this. Di Baichen spread out his hands. Back then, Ling Er's cultivation was the highest, and she had also transformed into a human form. It could be said that she looked down on the four beasts, which was why this situation had occurred. Yin Che is now cultivating with all his might, because he wants to catch up to Ling Er's cultivation. Although Yin Che used to be very serious in his cultivation, I feel that he's even more hardworking now. Baichen, you're telling the truth. Haha. When Xiren agreed. Yin Che is a man after all. He's always being suppressed by Ling Er. Of course he's unhappy. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the two men who thought alike, and a trace of helplessness appeared in her black eyes. Perhaps this was a man's characteristic. Even Xiao Xuanzi was now cultivating with all his might, so that he could transform into a human as soon as possible. Let's go. The scope of this training ground is not small. It'll take some time to get out. Di Baichen looked ahead. He had stayed here for so long in the past, so he was quite familiar with the terrain. After the skeleton army noticed the sudden appearance of Di Baichen's group of four, they immediately locked onto them and waved their weapons, wanting to attack. Dark energy surged out from Di Baichen's body. Immediately after, the skeletons that were about to attack stopped and bowed respectfully to Di Baichen, as if submitting to him. A wide road quietly appeared. The originally scattered skeleton army now stood on both sides like guards. Their postures were straight and solemn as they watched Di Baichen's group leave. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.